ready for bed at a regular time is one of the most important habits you can learn.
Who you gonna call?
Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Oh, Lori, scared another one away.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
We are counselors at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. There is a swarm of bears.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you.
It's showtime.
Hello, and welcome back to another fabulous and wonderful episode of the Scream Stream. Now we are on episode 54, and we're continuing on where we left off from last time, which was part 1 of Them Season 2. So we're not going to have any of the fun facts, casting choices, so on and so forth, because we covered all of that in the first part of that. So I do suggest, if you are curious and want to know at least the first half leading up to everything that we're about to talk about, go ahead, check out the 53. It's a fun, fantastic episode because I thoroughly enjoy Season 2. Season 2 is one of my favorites out of the 2 seasons so far when it comes to this anthology series. But yeah, no, I highly suggest go ahead, check that out, then come back because you might be a little lost. If you are new and don't know anything about me when it comes to the podcast and then you're just curious about this set of episodes, I do go heavily into spoilers, so heads up. Lots of spoilers, because I cannot tell a story without giving away the spoilers. It's just who I am. So why don't we go ahead, dive on in, and basically pick up where we left off, which was episode 5. Now, where we originally left off, right before episode 5, of course, we got Dawn finding out she's adopted, which, again, had no clue. No clue that was a secret. I'm still flabbergasted that people were treating that as a secret. I just thought it was, again, not to be that person to say, oh, I thought it was so obvious. No, like, dead ass. She looked nothing like Athena. Like, she looked nothing like Athena. She looked nothing like the dad in the photos. Like, I don't know if it's just me just paying attention to casting choice or what, but that just, did not come as a surprise to me. Came as a surprise to Dawn, though. Athena, of course, she's heartbroken about this, and Dawn's then ran off, and we also left Edmund basically brutalizing a poor dude to death. Poor Donovan. Anyway, episode 5, entitled Luke 8:17. We start this fantastic episode at church with everything that I love about these churches. Like, I love churches in movies because, okay, we all been to real churches. Real churches, most of the times, they're kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. You know, you got the monotone preacher up there. He has, like, really no emotion except when he's, like, really trying to hammer on the power of the Lord. Like he'd be telling like a Bible verse or something, just be like, yep, and then this all happened. But in the good Lord said upon thee, you know, that kind of shit, you know. It kind of wakes you up from halfway dozing off in the middle of his whole monologue and shit. But in movie churches, man, all crazy. You got like the entire choir getting in on this shit. You got the preacher just always at that level. Just, the Lord will not turn against you, my children, for thou will forever be in the love of the light of the Lord. And they're just going ham and crazy. I love it. I wish more churches were like this in real life, because it would be much more entertaining and fun, and I'm sure I would probably go a lot more, but no, most of the churches I ever went to were very boring. Very, very boring. But anyway, we got that energy going on, and basically cut with the church, you know, doing its church thing. We're looking at Edmund, who has now brought Donovan to the middle of the desert, and is basically putting him in a shallow grave, and it is slow and it is painful for this poor man, because he is like, remember, he's all messed up at this current moment. Like, his arm's broken, his leg's broken, he's been beaten a little bit, so he's trying to crawl away. I don't know why Edmund took him out of the trunk and just threw him on the ground, I guess to toy with him or something. But he starts trying to crawl away, and Edmund's just amused, but stoic at the same time. That makes any sense. Like, you can see, like, he's like observing the situation, but he's got like no emotions behind it. Like, it's just he's running on one pure instinct, and that's just kill. That is just kill. But he's watching poor Donovan crawl away, and he is begging him, please, I want to live, don't kill me, I have a family, like, I like to live, man, I love life, don't do this. And, yeah, you know, Edmund don't care and just pushes him into a like, very shallow hole, by the way. Like, seriously, bro, like, you have a shovel, you had time, why not make it deeper? I don't know. Maybe to toy with him some more? Like, I couldn't tell you his whole plan of action here. Because if he was planning on killing the man from beginning to end, he didn't plan it very well. I'm just saying, like, straight up, I'm just saying, if I was to plan on murdering somebody and I had a grave intended for them, I would definitely take the time to dig a hole that could not be found. You know, I don't get this whole shallow grave shit. Like, come on, that's how most killers get caught here, just a shallow grave. Like, take the time, bro. Like, you're already going the 10 notches to commit a crime here. Just see it all the way through, man. Just see it all the way through. But yeah, puts him in a shallow grave, has a shovel behind him, and just this poor Donovan, just please don't kill me, just don't do this. And Edmund don't care. Edmund's just like, and just shovel to the face. I'm talking about repeatedly, just like bashes that poor man's head in with the shovel. And also, like I said, intercut with this is Athena at church. You can definitely tell she ain't feeling the Lord right now. Like, she needs the Lord, but she ain't feeling the Lord because she knows she done messed up not telling Dawn that she's adopted or has a brother. Which, you know, I feel like at some point that should have been brought up, but I mean, I kind of get Athena's whole reasoning of why not to do it because of the fact that, you know, she, like her own words said, she was well adjusted, you know, it was so long, she never brought it up at any other point, so, you know, why bring up this harsh memory for her, because from what we see as the episodes progress, Dawn starts losing it, especially when she has to go back to Mott's house, and then everything slowly starts coming back to her. You could tell Athena did what she thought was appropriate, and I can kind of agree, but I still think at some point, maybe in her 20s, she should have sat down and talked to her about this, you know. Don't wait till this woman has a child of her own and doing her own life. Like, seriously, it's just at some point you should just sat down and went like, Dawn, I need to talk to you. I know it's been about 18 years, but I gotta tell you this, and this you know, this is just because of the reasoning, or let me phrase that, I'm doing this because of this certain reason. But no, she never told her, and that guilt was eating her. That guilt was definitely eating her. Now, after that, we then cut to Dawn, who's with her boy toy, which I found out his name is Reggie, by the way. Reggie. That's how much of an impact he had on my life in this show that I don't even actually call him Reggie in the like any of my notes. Like, I mean, dead ass. Like, I just call him Boy Toy. Like, not to be mean, but seriously, think about it. The first time we saw him, he was flirting with Dawn. That was all of what, 5-10 seconds. The next scene, it's them on a date, air quotes around date, them just talking about nonsense, and then they bang in the pool. Yeah, so what am I supposed to take from that, okay? Like, yeah, she's got a man on the side. Who the hell cares? Who the hell cares? Like, seriously, you could have cut him out the entire time. Wouldn't have made a difference. Would not have made a difference. But anyway, she's at the boy toy's house. And she apparently she was drunk, blacked out, doesn't want to talk about it, kind of, you know, shutting old Reggie boy down. And she's like, you know, I gotta go. I don't want to talk about it right now. I need to get home. I just need to recuperate. And right before she's about to walk out, Reggie just goes, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Like, it's been 2 years. We've been together. I want more than what we have already. And she just looks at him and goes, yeah, I want more too. But I'm sorry. Bye, Reggie. And then walks out. That's literally how I took the entire scene. It's supposed to be this whole dramatic love moment, or kind of sad love moment. Because you could tell he does kind of care for her. Because he's the one who's always instigating the flirtatiousness. He's the one who's always, you know, trying to get her mind off of work. You know, I can get why he's there. Because he's supposed to be, you know, kind of more of the common sense to her balance here for the few scenes we're supposed to get him in. But unfortunately, it just comes off as he's just a boy toy. Like, seriously, that's how I take it anyway. I could be in the minority and be completely wrong, but that's literally how I take Reggie's character. I see the potential and what he could have been, but we don't have time to spend with him and get to know him. Like, I didn't even know until that point where he said we've been together for 2 years that they were together for 2 years. I don't think it was ever mentioned at all at any point. So, yeah, no, it's, I don't know, maybe, because I'm now thinking about it, when did her and Corey split up, which is Cal's dad? Because if, you know, 2 years, during the 2 years, we know, 2 years, okay, so follow me on the math here. So we know for a fact that Edmund is on a different timeline. He's, I think, 2-3 years behind her. Now, her and Reggie were together for 2 years, and I know during the flashback at, I think, the next episode, or the one after that, I do believe it's the next episode, where we see Edmund go to Dawn's house, and we know Corey's there. So, maybe they're implying that she could have cheated on Corey with Reggie this entire time, which could be why she doesn't want anything more than just a fling. And why he just comes off as a flirtatious notion. But again, his character's not, I don't want to say not written well, because his character is written fine. You know, his character is perfectly alright. It's just, I feel like there needs to be more development for us to maybe feel the impact of when he's like, okay, Dawn, you know what, I'm done. Because there's really no implications. Like, nobody ever says anything. Let me just say that. There's some implications that they could have, if you do the math right, that she might have possibly cheated on Corey with Reggie, or it could have been that time frame that literally right after the Edmund situation, Dawn and Corey got into an argument, divorced or whatever, you know, process of divorcing, and then a few months later, that's when her and Reggie started doing their thing. But again, it's never implied, it's never mentioned, it's never written anywhere, spoken about. And again, I feel like if they would have really, you know, dived a little bit more into this character, maybe this scene would have been a little bit more impactful. But it is what it is. You know, this is why I say it's not a perfect series. It's a great season, don't get me wrong. Great show. But it's not perfect, and this is one of those things that to me just kind of brings it down a little bit, because you got so many great characters. I mean, hell, you even got freaking McKinney. I hate that son of a bitch, like a roaring passion of anguish and fire. I hate him. But yeah, he's got some good character development going on for him. No character growth because he's a piece of shit, but character development. We learn, you know, he's got some underhanded motives going on. But yeah, unfortunately, Dawn rejects him though. They, I guess, split off, never to be spoken to again. Like, we never see him after this. At this point, he's gone. Just bye-bye. He's just bye-bye. So we cut to Athena, who's at church, and she's rubbing her hands, because that arthritis is really getting to her. I feel that, like, straight up, I feel that. Like, I don't know if y'all can hear it, but yeah, that's my wrist. That's my wrist. That's what happens when I write too much. I see myself having arthritis in the future. Also, it doesn't help that I play a lot of video games, but I digress. The point is, she's at church rubbing her hands, and the pastor comes down to sit next to her, and you know, of course, he asks, you know, what's wrong, my child? You know, you seem upset. What's going on, Athena? And she, of course, she's like mumbling to herself, you know, I just thought this would all go away, you know, blow over, you know, nobody would get hurt, nobody would think much of this. And then this is where he says the title of the episode. He says, the good Lord says in Luke 8:17, for nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Which means you can't hide shit, bro. Like, that's straight up the whole, at least how I see it anyway. You can't hide shit. It's almost kind of reminiscent of the story I got told. It's connected to the Hazbin Hotel with the ducks. Let me digress for a second. So, in the Hazbin Hotel, Lucifer, at one point when we go into his house, it's just filled with ducks, rubber ducks. Like, they're just everywhere. And out of curiosity, I was like, where the hell did all these rubber ducks come from? So, you know, of course, I Google, asked around on Reddit and stuff. And it turns out it's a story that kind of ties into the messaging of Luke 8:17. Where basically it's about a little boy who accidentally kills his grandmother's pet duck, and his sister witnesses this. And instead of confessing to accidentally killing this duck because he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing. He was basically, I think, like throwing a rock or like a little pellet gun or something towards this duck. But the point is, this duck died. And he didn't want to tell the grandma about it. And the sister held it over his head the majority of the time, you know. Hey, do this for me. I don't want to. Well, then I guess I'll tell grandma about the duck. You know, so he would do it. And eventually he had enough and confessed to his grandma about the whole thing. And she looked at him and said, I know. I saw. I was just waiting for you to say something. And he was like, well, why didn't you say anything to begin with? She's like, it's not my place. You did the wrong, and you knew it was wrong. You should have confessed and at least admitted to the wrong you have done. That's why all the ducks and has been. But it ties in with this, basically saying you cannot hide the secrets that, you know, that you're trying to hide. You can't do that because eventually all secrets will come to light. Whether it's something you did intentionally, accidentally, no matter what, it will come to light. And it could be something very small and, no one really cares about, or it could be something huge that could wreck your life. Like, no matter what, you need to confess it and get it off your chest and tell it to the person and ask for forgiveness. I'm not saying, ask for forgiveness for, all your mortal sins and shit like that. I'm not a priest over here. I am saying, if you've done somebody dirty, apologize to them. That's simple as that. Just, you messed somebody up, you did them dirty, you fucked them up, just apologize. And own up to the mistake. Don't just go, I'm sorry, and think that's going to fix the problem. No, own up to your mistake. Apologize and explain how you came to this conclusion. And then from there, it's up to them whether or not they forgive you. But the point is, you will feel so much better once you get that shit off your chest. And that's the whole point of Luke 8:17. Don't hide your shit, because it will eventually come out. And, of course, Athena, she takes all that in, and she's just like, he's coming. He's coming. And she's fearful when she says that, too. Like, you see the fear in her face, because she knows something sinister is coming for her. We didn't cut to Dawn meeting up with Diaz to talk about the case, and he keeps trying to not get her to step away from the case, but he's just like, hey, listen, maybe you should drop this case because, of your connection. And she's like, what connection? Like, I have no more connection than any other case I've done. Okay, he's trying to tell her something that we as the audience, if we've seen the show before, know what the hell he's trying to bring up. But she, unfortunately, doesn't. So, as they're chit-chatting about everything, she brings up that the whole thing with McKinney, about how she followed him previously, and that basically she wants him to stay away from the family because he threatened, remember, he not threatened Cal, but there were some highly aggressive tactics used on that poor boy. Like, seriously, there were some highly aggressive tactics, and that poor boy was scared. I felt so bad for him. I just wanted to hug that little man and just be like, it's okay, man. It's okay. I got you, boo. I got you. McKinney ain't gonna hurt you. Fuck McKinney. Oh, I cannot wait till episode 8. Oh, you gonna see me have just like a cheer fest. If you don't know what I'm talking about, because you're here just for the fantastic commentary I give on the show, and not because you're interested in watching the show. Oh, we're gonna get there when we get there. But the point is, she informs him about all this, and she basically warns him, saying, you know, he is dangerous, so if you're worried about things, if you wouldn't need to leave, go ahead and leave. And of course Diaz's like, nah bro, I got you, I'm staying, we're in this together now. And then he brings up that there's a case that's going on currently where the police keep getting called to a certain house because a young boy is saying he's seeing a man with red hair watching him. Not good, man, not good. So after that, they then go talk to the boy, because again, they need to make sure this is the same case and connection, because I mean that seems to be the common connection at this current moment is the man with the red hair, tall, large man with red hair. Oh, excuse me, there it goes. I'm sorry, I was waiting for that burp to come out. I felt it in my chest. Say it with your chest, bro. Oh, but why do I do that on occasion? I always try to say bro or boy, and it comes out as bro. Like, it makes no sense. I caught myself doing that several times, but I can't stop myself. Anyway, they go to talk to the boy. Now, what I like about this scene is that we don't get subtitles here. We don't. As weird as that sounds, I find it very authentic. I find it very authentic when we're watching a show and we don't have subtitles, because now we feel like because we're following Dawn, and I'm sure Dawn probably doesn't know Spanish all that much. This is why she's got Diaz translating over here. But we're like Dawn. We don't know what they're talking about unless you know a little bit of Spanish. Then you can somewhat catch on what's going on. I caught bits and pieces of it, but my Spanish was never very good. I made a C in that class. Yeah, my Spanish is very rusty, not very good. But the point is, I like that because it makes us feel like we're listening into a conversation that we have no business listening into, even though we know Diaz is just asking her questions, about, hey, what's going on in the house, what's happening. And, Gran won't let them in. Okay, like, Gran won't let them in because Gran says this is not a problem for the police. This is a problem for the church. She is convinced that the poor boy who's seeing the man with the red hair is possessed, okay? Like, straight up, she thinks he is possessed. So she does not want the police to come in and, do with anything because they're just going to cause more problems. Well, while Diaz and her are talking, Don sneaks off to the window where the little boy is at and, starts talking to him about everything. And he implies, that he's been seeing the man with the red hair, not just from the window where she's standing at, but also in the mirror, which again calls back to several of the other scenes where we saw the mirrors covered, So whatever the man with the red hair is supposed to be, again, I'm going to say a demon. That's my only assumption here. It's got to be a demon of some sort. What kind of demon? I don't know. But it's some kind of supernatural entity going on. But, he's scared. It's rather obvious this poor boy is scared of whatever he's seeing. And, of course, Gran, cuts this all short. Right before she closes the door and gets the boy in, he explains that all he wants is his brother. And you find out his brother was sent back to Mexico because he was not adjusting very well living here in America. So they sent him back home, and unfortunately this poor boy misses his brother. Remember that. But after that, they agreed to come back tonight. Just keep an eye on the place, because you never know. You never know with some of this craziness going on. It might be something, it may not be something, but it's better safe than be sorry. So then we head to Edmond. who is rushing into his apartment complex in a huff and a puff because he is panicking, okay? I think it all set in at once that he just committed murder here, okay? Like, he just killed a dude simply because he laughed at him during an audition. He got really too close to a girl he liked, okay? But it's all settling on in, so he's like packing up. He's ready to go. He's got to be on the move. And as he's packing, he stops right in front of his Raggedy Andy doll. And he walks up to it ever so slowly, and of course she just grabs it and cups it in his hand and then brings it to his chest like a child looking for comfort here. He then gets a phone call. So he shuffles over to his phone and picks it up as he's holding the doll. And you hear, "Hello, Mr. Gaines, this is Department of Child and Services. We got the paperwork you asked for. Do you have a pen and paper?" Turns out what he's been doing throughout this entire show that we've seen him, especially when he was on the phone call, when he was trying to asphyxiate himself. Still can't say that word, by the way, guys. Still can't say it. Don't know why. You know what's sad? You know what's really sad? The day after I did that particular episode, I actually said the word, and I was so impressed with myself. I went to go tell Eric, and then I couldn't say it again. I was like, damn it! Because there is one way I can say it, but I'd rather not say it here on YouTube, because that will probably get me demonetized. Anyway, I know what you're all thinking, and it's true. That's the only way I can say it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're too young, bro. You shouldn't be here. Shouldn't be here. Anyway, the point is, it's the same people that he's been on the phone with, that he's been trying to get the information on the whereabouts of where his sister's at. Now, this is where two and two start getting, put together, okay? Like, this was one of those moments where I was just like, okay, I see where we're going here. She's adopted. It's rather obvious he was adopted because we met his first father, that white guy who wrote the self-help book that he's constantly listening to. Yeah, that was his original adopted, or not original, but second adopted daddy. So, I put two and two together. I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's related to Dawn. So I got kind of excited. I want to see, okay, well, let's see these two people meet. Because again, we know he's a killer. She's a cop. She doesn't know he exists, but he knows that she exists. So let's see how well this is going to work out. Because again, at this time, when I first watched it, I was assuming they were on the same timeline. Because this is that moment we find out. This is that moment. But after that, he's so overjoyed that he, gets himself all dolled up. He's looking very nice. He's got himself a little cake in a box, all excited. He walks up to the door. At the same time this is happening, Dawn's at home taking her heart medication because she's got a headache. She ain't feeling good. I guess her heart's going crazy or some shit. I don't know. The point is she's taking some pills because she needs something. Not the classic detective needs something, but she needs something for that headache she is feeling in the back of her head. Point is, she hears the doorbell ring. At the same time, Edwin hits the doorbell, so we're thinking, okay, here we go. She gets downstairs, opens the door, and it's freaking Kel standing there. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? Like, I thought, and then we cut over to Edmund. When his door opens, it's Corey. It's Corey. So my mind just went. I was like, "What the hell?" Just a little bitty bomb went off in my head. I was so confused for half a millisecond. He walks in, and as he's walking around, and of course, we see the picture of her dad. We see, the living room all set up like it was before, and I'm just like. Okay, so this is definitely Dawn's house. That's definitely Corey. That's Kel's dad. What's going on here? And then I see Dawn come down the stairs, and I'm like, okay. I see what you did there. This thing takes place 2 years before where we started off with Dawn. Gotcha. That's when I figured that one out. Which, I mean, I like that twist, because I didn't see that one coming. I honestly did not see that coming. My mind was absolutely blown when you find out that Edmund's whole timeline takes place 2 years before Dawn. So instead of being in 91, I think we're in, 89? Something like that. I think it's 89. But yeah, he tells Corey that, he's a new neighbor. He's come, to meet his neighbors, be friendly and stuff, So I was about to say Cal. Corey's all like, well, come on in, neighbor. It's good to meet one of our fellow neighbors, da-da-da-da. And Dawn, of course, she comes down. Oh, it's so good to meet you. And then they get to talking a little bit. Now, this is after Edmund's done walked around the house and he has seen Dawn's life. She's got all her family photos just sprawled out on the fireplace. Everything looks beautiful and it feels so warm and inviting. The complete opposite of what it really feels like at his house. Like, I mean, think about it. Go back to some of the scenes where you were at Edmund's house. And you kind of feel how cold it is, how isolated it is, how alone it feels. Compared to Dawn's house, especially at this time with the filter and everything, it looks very warm and inviting. But, he's trying to keep his cool as he's talking to her. And she's like, so do you have any kids? Oh, yeah, I have 2 twins, boy and a girl. The boy's a little shy, but the girl's very outgoing and adventurous. And he's basically describing these kids as him and Dawn. He's like, oh, the boy's shy, just like him, very outgoing and sweet, just like her. And you feel kind of bad for him. To a degree, you feel a little bad for him. Because he's describing something to her that she has no clue about. Like, no clue. And instead of confronting her with this information, or even, not even beating around the bush, just be like, hey, listen, Dawn, I know this is going to sound crazy as hell, but hear me out. But unfortunately, Edmund's not that type of person. He is, I don't want to say a coward, because we see what he can do. But his anxiety gets the best of him, and he gets so nervous because it's that longing to want to be accepted. And basically, for him at this current moment, Dawn is that last lifeline. Dawn is literally the family member he can hold and hug and say, I love you. She can say, I love you back. Unlike everything else in his life, all the other family members who have rejected him and turned him away, he's got Dawn here, and he's already got this whole fantasy built up in his head that Dawn and him are just gonna meet and they're gonna reconnect. She's gonna be like, oh my god, my brother, and he's gonna be like, Dawn, it's me, and then they're gonna hug, they're gonna kiss, it's gonna be beautiful. But it's not playing out the way he's imagining it, so he's all nervous now, and he's seeing that she's had this better life than him. And he gets extremely tense when he asks her, do you have any siblings? And she just goes, no, I'm a single child. And it clicks in his head. She has no clue who the hell he is. She has no clue, absolutely not a single clue on who this man is, why he's in her house, or what is going on. And that bothers him. You can see it on his face. It bothers him. Like he wants to start crying now, but he can't because it will look weird. So he's trying to hold it in. Oh, excuse me, moi. He's trying to hold it in, like I was trying to hold in that burp, and it didn't work. Luckily, it worked for him though. But the point is, because of him acting so weird and sketchy, and of course his hands are all kind of scraped up and bloody from when he beat the hell out of Donovan. He's acting super weird, so Dawn's already kind of on edge. Like, she starts, trying to ask him some questions, and he's beating around the bush a little bit, and of course Corey's just like, why you gotta be so nosy and everything? You gotta forgive her, man. She's a cop, so she's paranoid 24/7. And that's when it definitely dawns on him that her life, no connection to him whatsoever. He means nothing to her. And then Kel comes out with the cake, and it's just like, hey, whose birthday is it? And it says happy belated birthday, and that's the same cake he brought in for Dawn, because I'm assuming this is around her birthday, which also freaks her out because that is just super weird. She asks him, put his hands against the wall. She's going to pat him down. She wants to know, who he actually is, what his whole reasoning being here is. And as she's patting him down, looking through his wallet, he actually starts crying. Like, actually crying. And she's just like, what are you doing here? Tell me what you're doing here. I want to know now. I'm going to call the police. And he just looks at her and goes, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And I was like, okay, well, let me walk you out. And as they go to walk out, he's just stoic. He's just tears streaming down his face. And the entire time, I'm screaming at the television, just tell her, bro. Just tell her. Like, say something. But we all know he doesn't say anything. He says nothing to her, but she says something to him that royally fucks him up. She basically looks at him and goes, I don't know what you're doing here, Edmund, and I frankly don't care, but if I ever see you around here, ever, I'm going to arrest you. Don't ever come back here. And then walks the hell back into her house. Right there. That was his last little lifeline, just gone. Just gone. Everything he ever wants, the love, the acceptance, the admiration of his family, just gone in a dash of a second. All because she doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't have the courage to tell her. And I find that so sad. I find it so sad that his anxiety outran what he wanted. His anxiety basically pushed him to a point that he couldn't open up to her because he was afraid of getting rejected, which because of that, he got rejected anyway. It's like he's, what do they call it? Self-fulfilling prophecies. He was already worried about being rejected, so he made himself weird so he could be rejected. Like, it's super weird. And I feel so bad for him. Like, I really do. Like, this is the moment I was just like, oh, dude, all you had to do was just say it. But I get why you couldn't say it, man. I get why you couldn't. But before he walks off, and before she walks off too, he says, I'm really happy for you. And he leaves, as she leaves. And he's a broken man. And she's just utterly confused. We then cut to Edmund making a tape as he's crying. And he's talking to Dawn. He's actually talking to Dawn. And he's just like, ever since I left you house. Or, hang on, let me make sure I'm reading this right. Ever since I left your house, all I see is blood. Now, we're going to get this tape a lot from this point on. I kid you not, we're going to be hearing this a lot. But this whole speech is basically about how he can never breathe, even though he wants to scream, but he can't because there's not enough air in his lungs. And that she's happy with her life and her family and her job, and all he sees is blood. That is all he sees. And that poor man is just losing it, because after that we cut to him sitting in the middle of his living room with the Raggedy Andy TV show playing. And if I gotta hear that freaking theme song one more time, I'm gonna rip my own ears out. Like, I didn't realize how often that song played. It plays a lot, that. I'm not even gonna say. I'm not gonna be that mean, guys. I'm not gonna torment you guys. But if y'all that curious, look at the Raggedy Andy theme song, and it's like the most catchiest but annoying song in the world because it is a intro to a children's TV program. So we all know how catchy they are, but after a while, they can be quite annoying. They can be very, very annoying. But he's sitting there watching Raggedy Andy, and he's cutting up this yarn. He's crying. He's like freaking the hell out. And as he's cutting, you see that there's just piles and piles of tapes everywhere. There's piles of yarn everywhere. Who knows how long that this man's been at this shit, but he's been at it for a good minute. But he's just cutting away, and we zoom in onto his face, and then all you hear is this deep growl of a voice come out of nowhere and say, "She rejected you. Your flesh and blood. Your sister rejected you. You are nothing. You're fucking nothing." And during this whole gruff voice, we're zooming into Raggedy Andy, who is just chilling on the VCR player. Anyone else, first of all, anyone else finding it a little funny that it's a Raggedy Andy doll being used as a conduit for this demon? And if you don't see how that's funny, let me just give you a little bit of a brief history lesson. The Conjuring series talked about Ed and Lorraine Warren, whose infamous famous case was the possessed Annabelle doll, who is Raggedy Andy's sister. I liked the nod. I thought the reference was nice. Even if it wasn't a reference, I liked it. I liked the fact that this demonic thing was speaking through Andy. I liked it. But it also could explain why he is so attached to this doll. Well, that's one of the reasons why he's attached to this doll. Second reason is because it was left to him when he was left as a baby. So, you know, that's like his favorite freaking toy. That's the only connection he has to his mother, it feels like. But it's a little messed up, too, as you think about it, when it comes to the demon using the doll as a conduit to speak to him. Because his doll, it's almost like a form of comfort for him. You know, he's always grabbing it and he's holding it to his chest and he strokes its hair. You know, he moves around like a child with it. And most children, when they have a doll, it's a comfort thing. It feels good. You know, it makes them, you know, feel safe and protected. The fact that this demon, first of all, who knows how long this demon's been in this doll? Nobody knows for a fact. I couldn't tell you. It's probably been a good while, you know, at least a few months. Because, you know, demons do this shit. You know, the whole the stage thing that they talk about in The Conjuring is an actual thing that I've seen in a lot of research when it comes to demon possession people. Yes, I am that weirdo who spends her times looking up exorcist cases and stuff because it's fun to me. I don't know why, but the supernatural entities and demons and shit, they interest me. So, you know, I get bored and I'll look up things, and I did find out that a lot of shit the Warrens were talking about, you know, does have some merits to it, you know. You got the whole, it goes after people who are weak. And Edmund, of course, he's weak. But he can be strong. Thus is why the demon needs to grind him down. And of course, most demons, they start off doing nice things. That's the weird thing about demons. They trick you into thinking they're friendly by doing nice things for you. That's how they get to kind of sneak into your life. And then they tear you down and weaken you and basically isolate you to make you alone so you can't reach out for help, and then that's when they get what they want from you, whether it's for you to, you know, or they just want to possess your body. It's up to the demon's discretion. But the point is, there are stages and steps to this, and it does take quite a bit of time. So who knows how long that demon was in the doll, and who knows what he did to Edmund before we heard his voice. But the point is, we hear the demon taunt Edmund, basically telling him he is absolutely garbage, he is nothing, nobody loves you, nobody likes you, nobody cares for you. That is a mean demon, I am not gonna lie. Anyway, we have this moment though, after the demon says that, where it breaks Edmund. He starts screaming, shaking his head, you know, freaking out, doing that whole weird jump scare, split screen, you know, kind of like the Pennywise It thing where they're like in your face back and forth, you know, with the camera tricks. He's doing that, and then it ends with basically his face and the Raggedy Ann doll's face spliced together, saying that they are basically one. He's about to accept this whole thing when it comes to whatever the demon is asking for. And in return, the demon's going to give him something he wants. But after that, we cut back to 1991 with Dawn outside the young boy's house who is dealing with the man with the red hair. And as, they're sitting there chit-chatting, her and Diaz, they're talking about the Lord and about how, he doesn't go to church, but he is kind of religious. You can't believe in one without the other, and I do believe that. You cannot believe in a God without believing in the devil at the same time. Like, it's the whole point of life, the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. You can't have one without the other. That's how you have balance in the force, people. And don't give me that bullshit from the acolytes about the whole thread shit. That show is not canon, doesn't count in my book. I don't want to talk about it any further. The point is, balance of the force. That's all that matters. And I like how he puts it, though. I'm not a religious person, but I am a believer. I like that. You can't ask for much. But at the same time, as they're talking about this, of course, there's people coming in, like a lot of people coming in for this exorcism. Man, I wonder how many people actually came in to do the exorcism and how many actually came for moral support. Point is, they're in there, they're all praying, there's candles everywhere. And we cut to the little boy, he's laying on his bed, and you hear the grand come in. And she's just, oh, why don't you come on out? No, Gran, I'm tired. And this is where it gets kind of freaky. I'm not gonna lie, this got a little freaky for me because I was not expecting this, like, whatsoever. Like, I knew he was going to get hurt and attacked because of the man with the red hair and all that shit. But I was not expecting an actual exorcism moment here. Basically, as he's laying on the bed and the grandma's trying to convince him that it's all okay, and you hear the grandma speaking to him, he rolls over and she's not there, but you see something squish the bed, like it stood on top of the bed or something, and the boy starts screaming. And I'm with the boy. I start screaming too, because I'm like, what the hell is happening here? And then Dawn, of course, she hears all this shit. So her and Diaz come rushing on in and into this whole exorcist bullshit. And the boy is like seizing out. He's freaking out. You see foam coming out of his mouth. The priest is above him going, "Be gone, Satan, be gone." And of course the grandma, she's praying. Everybody's praying. Everybody's just like, they're all into this, like 100%. Like they have committed. And they're not going back on this. But Dawn, she can't have this. She's like, Diaz, call the ambulance, call 911. They're 7 minutes out. He don't have 7 minutes, Diaz. And she looks around, and she can't take it. So she grabs the boy. She's like, move, out the way. And of course, Diaz, he's making a little runway for her so she can run to the car. And of course, they try to follow after her, and Diaz's like, no, let her take him to the hospital. Let her take him to the hospital. And as they're going to the hospital, shit hits the fan, okay? Shit hits the fan, like, big time. Like, okay, so she gets him in the car, right? She puts him in the back seat. She doesn't even buckle him up, I don't think. But don't hold me to that, because there is a question in the next episode about whether or not he was buckled. And I can't say for 100% certain that he was buckled. I'm going to say Dawn, being smart, probably did have him buckled. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, she didn't. And carry on. So she gets him in the car, right? And she starts taking off driving. At the same time she's driving, we're intercut with the freaking tape that Edmund's been, that we saw Edmund recording about, ever since I left your house. He says, do you ever feel like you can't breathe, like your heart will stop? You try to scream, but you can't. And, this goes on for a good minute. Cut in with Dawn trying to drive as quickly as she can, and the little boy in the back freaking out, slamming his hands against the gate in the back. He's all over the car. He's twisting, he's turning, and you can hear the sounds of the bones crackling as she is pulling up to the hospital, and you hear, "All I see is red, and I'm going to break all your favorite toys." And the moment that audio gets cut, and we see Dawn run around the side, and again, she's freaking out. She's, crying. She opens the door and we see it's too late. The little boy, dead. We heard his death. We kind of saw glimpses of his death, which kudos to the I want to say makeup department and probably the effects department, because that was kind of disturbing. I'm not going to lie. It was very disturbing, but I loved it. I loved it 100%. But yes, that is the ending of episode 5. So that leaves us off with a lot of good questions. Like, what's about to happen in the next episode? How's she going to explain this one to the police? You know, we learned a lot about Edmund and about his state of mind. The fact that he is basically being taunted by a demon because of how sad and depressed and alone he is. We find out that him and Dawn were related, which I do like that we did make these two people related. I wish it wasn't so obvious. Again, the thing for me, the twist for me was the timeline difference. That's what got me. The whole finding out she was adopted didn't get me. The fact that they were related, that didn't get me either. But no, it was the twist in the timeline. That's what got me. But episode 5 sets us up for all the chaos and tension we're going to feel in episode 6. Because episode 6 is like gut-wrenching. Like, I hate episode 6, but I love it at the same time. But I hate it so much at the same time. It's mainly because of the mock trial. It's the mock trial. So episode 6 is entitled, Would You Like to Play a Game? So we start off with a flashback of Dawn dealing with the previous night's incidents with her and the boy. We see the boy kind of, being twisted and turning and stuff. She snaps out of it, and she's in the back of a police car being driven by her lieutenant. You know the guy from Jurassic Park? It's him. It's him. And basically, he's just like, what happened? Like, what happened back there? Like, I cannot help you and save you from this mob if you can't tell me what happened. And she's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how to explain any of this. Like, I didn't touch him. I didn't do this. Do you think I actually did this? He's like, no, I don't think you did this. Now, you're a great cop. And I saw great things in your future. But you didn't listen. You did not listen. You just kept pushing and pushing. And now, accusing your death? The whole thing with the other guy? Like, I can't protect you from this. You gave him the rope. You handed him the rope. And now this is it. You gotta eat this. Like, he really wants to help her out. Like, he truly does. He likes her. He likes her as a cop. He thinks she's a good cop. That's why he hired her. She was not an affirmative hire to him. He liked her credentials and what she could bring to the table. But in this situation, he can't do anything for her. His hands are tied. Like, she got caught red-handed with a dead body. Like, you can't sweep that underneath the rug here. You can't do anything about this. We then see, of course, as they pull up, there's like a horde of news people surround the vehicles going, Miss Reed, did you kill the boy? Asking inappropriate questions. Typical news journalists who don't know how to actually report on the news. Sorry, not sorry, I said it. I think a lot of you assholes who work in the news department as journalists, y'all suck at y'all's job. Like, y'all think if y'all are the first ones there to shove the camera in these people's faces and your microphone and you speak the loudest, how do you feel about being convicted of killing this boy? Do you think that's going to be newsworthy? No, you're making a fool of yourself, and you seem very hard-ass, and not in a good way either. You seem like a prick. I'm sorry, but I said it. I hate news journalists who do that. Like, you want to ask the hard-hitting questions. Ask the hard-hitting questions. Don't shove a camera and a microphone in somebody's face, especially somebody's face who is going through shit right now. Fucking cannot stand journalists. Anyway, during this whole situation, Kale is oblivious, by the way. He's completely oblivious. He's got his headphones in. He ain't paying attention to TV, so he is clueless. So, unfortunately, he doesn't see the shit that's going to come once he gets to school. So we cut back to Dawn, who is now being detained. She's not under arrest, but she's being detained because of the whole incidents with the boy. And they handcuff her, of course, and they treat her like a common criminal, you know, go through her hair, they freaking, you know, take stuff out of her pockets, take her recorder, all this shit. And it's I'm gonna be honest, it's very degrading. It feels very degrading. Like, everyone feels so smug. It honestly feels like the lady officers who are patting her down, they're so smug about this. Like, yeah, we knew a black chick would do this. Of course, a black cop would do this. Like, bitch, fuck you. I know that's not what they said. It's the attitude about the whole situation. Because you look as they're moving her down the hallway to go into the mock trial thing to ask her questions. You see McKinney there, and McKinney has got a freaking smirk on his face. Like, he's so proud of himself. Like, yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. She's just crazy. Like, mother... I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. Oh my God, I hate him. I do. I do. He's a prick. He's a prick. He's a prick. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. But the point is, I feel like the scene was very degrading because it's just the way it was. First of all, the way it was shot. You know, it's typical crime, kind of like a crime show setup where we see the person being brought in, we see them getting frisked and stuff, and it feels very normal to a T, but it feels so degrading because this is Dawn here. You know, this ain't some dumb common criminal. This is Dawn. This is the cop who we've been with since episode 1, and we know that she's innocent of all these crimes. And I think that's why I dislike this particular scene coming up. And it's more from me in a creative standpoint. Like, I understand why people do it. It's supposed to add tension and guilt, and, you know, it's supposed to make you feel enraged and stuff. I get it. It's great for storytelling. It's wonderful storytelling, and I do not harp on anybody who does this. But it pisses me off because I'm too much of a person who gets invested in some of these shows. And as you saw with, like, the recap of season 1, I still freaking cried describing episodes 5, you know, because I was so invested into the show, and then just finding out, you know, the thing with the child, that just really, really broke me. But with this, it felt the same way, except I was uncomfortable. I was upset. I was just like, everything they're saying is basically to corner her and make her basically admit to things she didn't do. I didn't like the line of questioning. I didn't like how they approached her. I didn't like that fucktard who walked up to her and kept throwing files at her face. I didn't like any one of those sons of bitches standing on that stupid ass stand. I liked none of them. And I hated the scene because it made me so uncomfortable, but damn it, was it not a good scene though. It was definitely a good scene because you felt for Dawn the entire time, because Dawn is trying to answer these lines of questioning in the most logical and sensible way, but they just keep cutting her off and not letting her explain. They're just like, it's a yes or no question. No, motherfucker, this ain't a yes or no question. Let me explain, and then you can make up your mind. No, you want to do this whole, did you or did you not do this? Well, I did, but this is why. No, we don't care why you did it. No, this should be one of those situations where you do care why you did it, okay? Like, you should care why she did it, but they don't. And fuck them. Fuck every one of those old-ass crusty motherfuckers on that stand. Granted, fantastic actor who plays the main guy. I cannot think of his name, but he always plays a douchey lawyer dude, like straight up, or some kind of like corrupted cop figure. I can never remember the actor's name, but you know, pretty decent guy. Let me rephrase that. Pretty decent actor. I like him. But yeah, now we gotta deal with this whole freaking mock trial thing, and I cannot stand it. I really cannot stand it. But before we get into the mock trial, we cut to Athena. And she's at work, and unfortunately she's getting chewed out by her boss who found the Raggedy Ann doll she threw out. And she's like, why are you throwing away products? And she tries to come up with some excuses, you know. Oh, you know, they won't sell here. I know the type of people who buy here, and they're not going to sell that. That's just insensitive. You know, why don't you sell some nice black dolls? And nobody's going to want these. And, of course, she's like, but, you know, everyone plays with these dolls. Everybody loves these dolls. And of course, it's all excuses because the actual reason why she doesn't like the doll is because it reminds her of Edmund. If you think about it, it truly reminds her of Edmund. It's like a PTSD flashback for her. Every time she sees that damn doll, she thinks of Edmund and she thinks of what she blames Edmund for, which we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, they go a little back and forth, and eventually she looks at her and just goes, you know, your work's been sloppy, you've been slow, now you're throwing away product. I just can't trust you anymore, Athena. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to fire you. And, of course, Athena's, she's taken aback, and the woman tries to give her a second opportunity, just apologize to me, and I'll let you keep your job. But Athena's just like, no, 10 years, whatever, and basically drops the keys and leaves. Like, I don't get why she won't admit, like, did she not learn anything from what the preacher said in the previous episode from Luke 8:17, you know, do not keep secrets? Tell her the reasoning why. Just be like, listen, I didn't mean to throw it out the way I did, but it's something to do with trauma in my past life. It reminds me of this terrible situation, blah, blah, blah. You know the story, but the point is, she could just tell her. But she's not. She'd rather just swallow her pride and walk the hell up out of the store. So we get to the mock trial now. And they're basically grilling the hell out of her. And you find out in this mock trial that there are 7 minutes missing from when she took the boy from his house to the hospital. So they're trying to get to the bottom of where those 7 minutes went. And she's reasonably explaining it was dark. I might have took some wrong turns because I was in a hurry trying to help this boy out. It was, raining. There's not very many lights out there. I might have missed a road or two, shit like that. And of course, they're bringing up the old assaulting case that she was on. Of course, we hear McKinney talking about how he was being followed by her and that she's unstable and unhinged. And that she was harassing him and all this stuff. Then you find out she popped positive for marijuana because we all know she took a hit of that joint watching McKinney. Again, fuck McKinney. But because of all this mounting pressure, she just blurts out, I want to go on the wire. Put me on the wire. You want to get this over with? Put me on the wire. So before we can see her on the wire, we cut to Kel at school, and everyone is kind of a douchebag to him. Comes in, and he sees his girlfriend, the girl he already likes that he's been hanging out with, and I can't stand this bitch. I'm going to be honest, I didn't say much in the first section of the podcast about this, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't like her. She rubbed me the wrong way from the moment I met her. She's over here like, I hate pigs. And they're always harassing my brothers and shit. Like, I get it. I 100% get it. Like, 100%. Again, we gotta remember this has to do with the whole Rodney King thing right after the whole incident. I get why people don't trust the cops and shit. But that attitude doesn't help the situation. And it didn't help the situation. And it still don't help the situation. Yes. Not all cops suck. Not all cops are good, though. Let's make that clear. There are those assholes who feel like once they have the badge, they have the power. They can do whatever they want. They can conquer whatever worlds they see in front of them. But you actually have real cops who care because that is their job. They care. They want to protect and they want to serve and help people. And unfortunately, everyone gets mixed in together. It's like with races, Not everybody's a freaking racist, but somehow everyone gets mixed in together. Like, it makes no sense. Not everybody's like this. But it goes back to that terrible, terrible saying that I never liked to begin with, which was one bad apple can ruin the whole, one rotten apple can ruin the whole bunch. Not true at all. Not true at all. First of all, that's not how a rotten apple theory works, first of all, whoever came up with that stupid-ass slogan. Second of all, with that logic in mind, if one bad apple ruined the whole bucket, that means that entire tree would be useless. Because it produced the one bad apple. So wouldn't that be the cause to the effect there? So when you had to cut that tree, but wait, before you cut that tree, that's your livelihood right there. That is how you make your money. Oh, but because this one rotten apple grew on this tree, though, we gotta cut it down. So you spent years growing this damn tree, getting it fruitful so you could sell your apples at your apple stand at the farmer's market. But because one apple came out rotten, you gotta throw the whole bundle away. You gotta cut the tree down because it's not making you money. According to you, it's not making you money. You're throwing away all this money because of one bad apple, where you could literally just save more money by just throwing away the one bad apple. But no, let's reinvent the entire function of a freaking tree. Does that analogy make sense? I don't know if it did. If it did, good. If it's not, I did my best, man. I did my best. But the point is, it's not all cops that are bad. And that's why it rubbed me the wrong way, because she's literally lumping everybody together. Which, again, I get why. Which, I'm not harping on, the characters themselves because of their train of thought. It just aggravates me personally as a watcher of the show, because we know Don's a good person. Don's a lovely person. Diaz, fucking love him. I love him. Really, I do love him. He is a fantastic, fantastic cop. But she unfortunately lumps them all together. So when she sees Kale, when he walks up to her, she's all like, that's her attitude right there. Just that, like, first of all, you all know what I'm talking about. When you go to talk to a girl or something, she's already in a pissy mood. She starts off with, that right there starts many fights. But she is mad at him for not telling her that his mom was a cop. She's like, I thought we were close, okay? I thought you're not close with anybody else, but I thought we were different. I thought our relationship was different. How could you not tell me? Tell you what? See, there you go, lying. How could you not tell me? Tell you what? That your mom is a pig. How could you not tell me? Like, first of all, chill with the attitude, bitch. Second of all, I love it, but I hate it at the same time. I love it because it's so stupid, but I hate it because it's so stupid. When somebody looks at you and goes, how could you not insert whatever? How could you not tell me? How could you do this? How can you blah, blah, blah? And they look at you with a serious face and you look back at them confused as fuck because you're thinking, what particular thing are you talking about here? Because there's like 20 things going on in my life right now, and you're at least hitting 7 of them. What are you talking about? Like, and she gets mad and won't explain it, and yet it's his fault. And I don't get that shit. I hate when people do that because just like, bro, you're getting mad at me because you're stupid. You're getting mad at me because you're stupid. You're not telling me what the problem is. And because I'm not answering the way you want me to answer, you're mad at me. You're stupid. Sorry, not sorry. If you want to confront somebody with information that you just gathered, why not start the conversation off of, Cal, what the fuck, man? Like, I thought we were close into this. Why didn't you tell me your mom was a cop? That's simple. That freaking simple. But no, she's a teenager, so her mind's stupid. Alright, not all teenagers are stupid, but her train of logic is stupid. She's just a stupid person. It's okay, though. We don't get to see her anymore after this, either. Which, not complaining or anything. Again, she's a fine actress. She played the character very well, so there's not me harping on the actress herself. It's just the character. I find her character just stupid because of the fact that she's gonna sit there and be mad at Cal for not telling this information. He's completely clueless, like 100%. But the thing that really pisses me off, though, is what she said before she walks off. She's like, you know what's worse, though? That your mom is not just a pig, but she's a child killer. And walks the hell off, leaving Kel all confused, like, what? What do you mean my mom's a child killer? Like, seriously, that shit pisses me off. Because again, first of all, you have no right to say that shit, okay? Second of all, you're a stupid bitch. Third of all, the fact that you don't even have all the fucking information and you're over there spreading lies and defamation. Lies and defamation, which that is technically a crime she could go to jail for. Especially if she is proclaiming that Dawn is a child killer. Oh yeah, no, that's defamation at its finest. But we're not worried about defamation cases here. We're worried about other things, such as drugs. Because in the next scene, I kid you not, I forget what they're calling the program in the show, but it's basically a knockoff DARE program. If y'all don't know what DARE program is, it was this fun, fantastic program that I grew up with, where a guy in a mascot outfit, I think it was a dog, I want to say it was like a hound dog or something, I don't know. The point is, this mascot and a cop will come in and tell you about the harmful nature of drugs and how you must say no to drugs. And then he proceeds to list all these drugs and the side effects and what it does and what can happen. You know, basically informing us and telling us more information about drugs and getting us more curious about drugs than stopping us from doing drugs. I'm sorry. I always thought the DARE program was stupid. Like, I loved it because we got off of class for a little while, but I just thought it was stupid because you're trying to tell us not to do drugs. You know, oh, and if your friend, you know, says, here, hit this joint, what are you supposed to say? No. Like, bro, first of all, they're teenagers. Do you not understand the word peer pressure? Second of all, you were a teenager. You were peer pressure. Third of all, everybody wants to be exclusive and be cool, and weed is not a drug. It's a natural grown flower that if you happen to set it on fire, gives you some weird side effects. I kid, of course. That's Cat Williams right there. But the point is, the DARE program, I thought they really could have tweaked it. They really could have worked on it a little bit better. You want to stop kids from doing drugs, I don't think telling us what each drug does and what it looks like is going to stop us. It's going to make us more curious, actually. It's like these adults don't realize they were teenagers once and they need to think like a teenager. Anyway, this DARE program shows up and they're talking about, you know, don't do drugs. Your friend hands you the joint, don't do it. And as this is happening, Kel starts kind of zoning out a little bit because he's already getting heckled by his classmates. You know, they're making fun of the fact that his mom's been arrested. They're like, did Kel's mom approve this program? Blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck you, kid in the back. While Kel's all zoned out, you hear the demonic voice that spoke to Edmund from the Annabelle doll speak to Kel and the lion mascot. Says, hey, hi Calvin, are you feeling alright? Are you nervous? And then he says the title of the episode. Would you like to play a game? And of course, Kel's looking around. He's like in his own universe. Like they're like separated from what's going on in the actual reality. So he looks at him, and of course he's just like, touch your desk. So Kel touches his desk. Alright? Tap the floor. Touch your nose. Touch your desk. Touch your nose. Tap the floor. Tap your neck. And this goes on and on and on. It gets more and more aggressive, more demanding. And as this is going, he keeps saying, tap the floor, tap the floor, tap the floor, tap the floor, tap the floor. And Kel starts doing it. He's like pushing his hands down and he's yelling, stop it, please make it stop it. And that poor boy, he looks like he's having a little mental breakdown in the middle of class, just touching the floor. Unfortunately, after that, we cut to Dawn on the wire. And they are asking her, you know, the typical questions, yes, no. And then they ask her about whether or not she was fostered by Miss Mott. And that's when things start slowly piecing together for her. I feel like we're ahead of her in the thinking curve here. But it's because we get all this information before her. So she's completely unfazed to a degree about that line of questioning, but it does start bothering her because, you know, two and two start coming together. Okay, what Mom was saying was true. I am adopted. Apparently, I was at Miss Maud's house. What is going on? There is some kind of connection here. But after that, we then go to Athena picking up Dawn. And there's a lot of tension in the air. Like, you know, we got that song, I Can Feel It in the Air Tonight, coming in the background, it feels like. Because I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. Yeah, that's what I was feeling as soon as Dawn saw Athena. And she's like, give me the keys, Mom. Give me the keys. Give me the keys. And she's like, but I can drive. No, I don't trust you. Give me the keys. And the tension in the air. It is tension. So now we cut to dinner. And Athena's trying to keep things positive and upbeat. You know, she's talking to Cal. Just, I can't wait for the, for your band performance tonight. You know, I hope you do good. Don't tell me what your solo is. I want to be surprised. And Dawn is just shutting that shit down. She's like, I'm going to need your license, Mom. Okay, and your car keys. You know, because you're not driving anywhere. Not under your condition. And eventually, you know, Cal's just like, what's with all the tension? What's going on? Because nobody's been informing Cal about any of this information, by the way. Remember, he's been kept in the dark. Every time shit hits the fan, he happens to come down and they tell him to go back to his room. So eventually, Dom looks at him and goes, oh, you want to know what? Okay, she's not your real grandma. Okay, she ain't my mama. Apparently, I'm adopted. And I was kept at this house. At Miss Maud's house and all this shit. And Athena's just like, well, would you rather me have left you there? Would you rather me have left you there? She's like, oh, yeah, no. You couldn't do that. You couldn't tell me anything, you know, because I was so well adjusted, Mom. I was so well adjusted. I mean, look at me. Look at me. I am the most famous cop ever made. I'm all over TV, Mom. I'm all over TV. Like, they're just at each other's throat. They're just at each other's throat. And Cal wants them to stop, but Athena, she gets up, she walks off. And Cal's like, you need to apologize to Grandma. And, you know, she's like, no, I don't. I don't need to apologize to her. She's the one who lied. And then Cal kind of lays it in on her. He's just like, Mama, why is it you blame everyone else but you for your problems? You were never here. Daddy was, though. Daddy was here. Daddy cared. You were always at work. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Finally, he's got this build-up, this unmatched build-up that we haven't really seen much of. Because usually their relationship has been pretty grounded, pretty stable. And it's not until this moment that he lets out his emotions about how he feels about her attitude towards everything. He doesn't try to dismiss her, but he does say, you need to own up to your own mistakes, Mom. Like, you blame everybody else. And I can kind of get it. Like, again, I said it, Athena, I don't 100% agree for what she did, but I get why she did it. So you can't fully blame Athena for hiding this information, but you can at the same time. But Dawn's reaction to this whole situation is not helping. Like, she is shutting down. She doesn't want to talk about this shit. She's pushing people away. She's being isolated. She's isolating herself. I mean, hell, Kel gets to the point because she's being so bullheaded and stubborn. He's like, I got to go to my brand thing. Don't bother showing up. Don't come at all. So we get to the band, I guess, I don't know what's going on. Some kind of school function going on. They got the band playing, you know, because he's a drummer and everything. And they're playing, oh God, what's the name of the song? Oh God, what is the name of that song? It was like Whip It or Cool It or something. Like, I know it when I hear it. It's a very popular song though, but it was a very good rendition of it. They were all in on it with the brass instruments and the drumming. It was great. It was great. I loved it. And even Kel was all into it until Dawn showed up. And that's when, you know, you see he starts getting a little annoyed, a little distracted by the whole situation. He then gets a little bit of a spotlight on him, and everything goes dark. And there stands the man with the red hair. And as he starts drumming, of course, the man with the red hair keeps cutting in and out between what's going on in real reality, which is this school function and Don watching, and his world where it's just him and Kel there, and he's slowly walking up to Kel, going down these bleachers. And what's so intimidating about this scene is that how big he's betrayed. Like, no? Yeah, no, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, betray's the word I'm looking for. I was thinking betrayal. Betrayal is not the word I'm looking for. Betrayed is. But he's so huge and just intimidating. And as he's coming down the stairs, it's almost like a solid thud. Every time he takes a step, it's like boom, 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 boom. Almost shaking the ground. So I can get why, you know, Kel's a little about the whole situation. I would be too, especially me at 5'4.5", okay? Like, that dude's at least 6'4" with those shoes. Maybe a little taller, maybe a little shorter, but the point is he is at least over 6'2". Okay, not as tall as the hands from TCM, but taller than Bubba. I can give you that. I can at least give you that. Point is, man's coming down these stairs, very intimidating, very scary-like. And poor Kel, he is so mesmerized by what's going on, he just keeps drumming, and he's drumming. And the more he drums, he starts bloodying up his hands because he's just going that fast with that much friction, and he's zoned out to the point that Dawn starts seeing this, and she starts, you know, slowly getting up and starts trying to run to Kel. And as soon as she gets close to Kel, the man with the red hair gets closer to Kel as well and pushes him down and asks, "Are you scared?" And as that happens, Kel starts spazzing out and basically having a seizure over here. And eventually Dawn, you know, separates everybody and picks him up and, you know, tries to snap him out of it. And he comes to, and he quickly grabs his mom and says, "Mommy, I think something's wrong with me." And then we have one dark moment and we see the face of the man with the red hair, and then black. Fade to black. Now, that was a very intense episode. We have a lot of emotions let out, not just for us as the audience, but as the rest of the characters as well. You know, like I said, Kel, he's finally able to tell his mom basically how he's been feeling, even though we as the audience haven't heard it from him. You know, because again, we see the relationship, it's not strained, but it seems pretty balanced, pretty fair, you know, very linear thing. They're very loving and caring people towards each other. And I love that dynamic about them. But you can see he holds some kind of resentment against her for not being around and pushing everybody away. And because she's pushing everybody away, that pushed Corey away, you know, Kel's dad. That pushed, you know, Athena away. And now we're isolating poor Kel by himself. He's basically almost repeating what was happening with Edmund, being pushed away, left alone. And I'm going to be honest, the whole "Mommy, I think something's wrong with me" line, that hit so close to home. And let me explain. He was royally pissed at his mom, that previous scene. Royally pissed. You know, basically told her, "Mom, I don't want you to come to my thing. Leave me alone. Don't bother me." You know, he's mad. But the moment his life was in danger, first thing he wanted was his mom. That still shows you that he loves his mom. And that hit so close to home to me because we will all do it. We will all do it. No matter what age you are, you will always cry for your mom. Like, I don't want people to say, "Oh, you're a bitch, you know, you cry for your mom." There's nothing wrong with that. That is actually just an instinct. Alright, so the interesting thing about fear, and especially about fear when it comes to death-like scenarios, your brain kind of puts itself into, like, not necessarily a childlike state, but some people have been known to revert to a childlike moment when they're that scared and that fight and flight or fight syndrome has kicked in, and they decide to stay put instead. That's that third. Now, I don't get why they call it fight or flight, because there's always that third step where people just freeze. They just freeze because they don't know what to do. And in that situation, a lot of people immediately just go back to being a child wanting protection. And most of the time, it has to do with their parents. You know, they want their mommy or their daddy, because that was the person that protected them. Now, in that situation, if you were alone, you could possibly reach out to your mom or your dad, you know, just, mommy, you know, protect me. Granted, you could be like a 48-year-old man. If you're in a life or death situation and all you had was your mother who ever cared about you, oh yeah, you bet your sweet ass you're going to be like, mommy, please don't let this happen. You're going to be like that. Trust me. I was like that during a car wreck I had a couple of years ago. I literally... First person I wanted was my mommy. The second person I wanted was Eric. And literally, we were going down to see my mom for Easter, and we had this stupid ass bitch pull out in front of us. Luckily, nobody got hurt severely. But yeah, she pulled out in front of us. We ran into her, and the first word, actually, let me rephrase that. The second words out my mouth. The first words out my mouth was, "What the fuck just happened?" And you can hear it on the tape, by the way, because my roommate was recording it with his dash cam. So you can actually hear me go, "What the fuck was that?" But the second words was, "I gotta call my mom. Where's my phone? I need to call my mommy." You can actually hear me on the little tape say that. Because I wanted to call my mommy. Like, I am not ashamed to say that. And then literally the next person I wanted to call was Eric. I wanted to at least let him know that I was okay. Yeah, I knew there was nothing he could do, but at least I wanted to let him know I was okay. But initially, I wanted my mother to protect me because I was hurting. Okay, airbags hurt, people. Airbags really hurt, and I still say my chest, on occasion, I still feel a little bit of pain of that airbag till this day. Granted, it's probably some kind of PTSD flashback or something, but occasionally I'll be breathing, and I feel just like a bit of a sharp pain in my chest right here at the bone where I got hit with that airbag. But I like it of, you know, Kel saying that, because even though he has, you know, been angry with his mom and basically told her to fuck off, he still wants her. Because he needs her protection. Because he is scared. He's 100% scared. And there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, overall, that was a great episode. But why don't we go ahead and move to episode 7. Now, something interesting about episode 7. I didn't realize until my second watch through of episode 7. I originally thought it was one scene. Turns out it's this whole episode. You notice that this is the only episode where the aspect ratio is different. And what I mean by that is you notice that, you know, episodes 1 through 6 are like high definition widescreen. Episode 7 is in a bit of a smaller format. I don't know exactly what aspect ratio it is, but it is a bit of a smaller format. Almost like Late Night with the Devil. It reminds me of that very, very much. But episode 7 is entitled, "One of Us is Gonna Die Tonight." That's a cheerful title for an episode, isn't it? So we start with a dark and stormy night as Athena's doing laundry, and she is trying to clean out the blood from Kel's uniform from the drumstick incident, because there's just blood all over that. Like I said, when he was drumming away, he was really drumming away. Like, there was blood all over the drumsticks, all over his hands, on his clothes. Like, the friction was that bad. But while that's happening, she's zoning out and focusing on the red, the blood in the washing machine. Then she's focusing on the red in the tomato sauce. Lots of red. We're going to see a lot of imagery with red in this episode too. And after that, we cut to Kel, who's cuddling with his mom, and he is truly terrified as he's trying to explain to his mother what he saw and explain the situation. And she's understanding. She is just like, okay, I get it. Nobody saw what you saw, but it's okay. Nothing's gonna hurt you. It's gonna be all right. But poor Kel, he is shooketh by this whole situation. So we did get Dawn going to go take a phone call from Corey, Kel's dad. he's calling just to check in on them. He heard the thing on the news, wants to make sure everything's okay. And she explains that something's up with Kel. He's acting weird, and terrible things are happening. And also, on a side note, she didn't do anything to the boy, and he is aware of this. Now, while this is happening, Athena, air quotes around that, because this ain't Athena, because we see Athena in the kitchen after the non-Athena character goes upstairs with the soup. Athena's still in the kitchen. So Athena, with air quotes, walks up to bring Kel the food. And as this is happening, Dawn's losing connection over the phone with Corey. And Athena gets up to Kel's room and knocks on the door frame. She's like, "Kel, sweetie, baby, do you want some of my tomato soup?" "No, Grandma, I'm not hungry right now." "Oh, come on now. You're not going to pass up my famous soup, are you?" "No, Grandma, I'm tired. Just leave it on the table." "Now, come on, baby. The soup will warm you up." It's rather obvious at this point that is not Athena. Like I said, that is the demon disguising itself as Athena, because apparently it likes disguising itself as old women. I don't know why, but this demon it's found its look and is staying with it. But as that happens, freaking Kel kind of like shook up himself. Like, he doesn't look at the demon, but the room gets really, really red, and the demon's just standing there in the door frame. And he crawls slowly up to Kel and gets right above him, almost disturbingly too close to him for my own personal comfort level. But Kel still won't look at him either. Kel's just staring at the wall. And he walks up to him and he's just like, "Now eat your fucking soup." And as soon as he says that, Kel gets up to scream. But instead of screaming, starts pulling out yarn out of his mouth. And this goes on for an uncomfortably long-ass time until Athena actually comes in. She's like, "Kel, baby, are you okay? You want some soup?" And he's like, "No, stay the fuck away from me, Grandma." And he stands up and he starts screaming for Dawn. And of course, Dawn, drops the phone because she can't hear Corey. So she runs in. And he's like, "Get her away from me. It's not her. It's not her. Mom, just put the soups down. All right, baby, let me just put it over here. Not over there. Just get out of the room." And then, of course, poor Athena, she don't know what to do. So she just takes the soup downstairs. She takes the soup downstairs. That poor woman, she just wanted to feed her grandbaby. That's all she wanted. But after the little freak out, Dawn holds Kel, and then Kel looks at him and just goes, "Mom, one of us is going to die tonight," saying the title of the episode. He's very scared, very, very scared when he says this. Now, after this, we cut back to Athena, who's gone back downstairs to warm up some blankets for Kel because he is ice cold. He is ice cold. And as she's walking, there's this nice little overhead shot where we follow her to the washer and dryer, and the camera pans all the way back, and we see where she walked. There's Raggedy Andy just laying there on the floor. And of course, she turns around and sees this, and she slowly walks up to the doll. And as she goes to touch the doll, she gets the sense that she is not alone. She freaks out. She runs up the stairs, and we see basically the demon hiding behind the stairs, laughing his ass off. She runs up the stairs. She warns Dawn, saying that somebody's in the house. Somebody's here. So, of course, Dawn goes to check, and she grabs her gun. She checks all the doors. And as she's doing this, we see the demon as Raggedy Andy and the bag just chilling there, just for some reason. I don't know, maybe to scare us as the audience, but he ain't making moves and shit, but he's just standing there being menacingly. And eventually Dawn gets to a certain room, and the videotape of of her walk through of Mott's house starts playing. And as it's playing, she ends up making it all the way back upstairs to the tape because she hears it running, and all she can hear is the words, "Imaginary friend, imaginary friend, imaginary friend." And she turns off the tape, And shortly after this, as soon as she comes around the corner, she sees Athena standing there. And Athena's just like, hey, is everything okay? Like, are we good? She's like, yeah, no, Mom, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I'm so confused. Kale's seeing the same thing everybody else is seeing. I got this, like, weird feeling that something bad is happening. And eventually, Athena looks at Dawn. And this is where we had this really great talk. And I love this setup for this talk. Because this is where Athena finally lets out the secret. She finally lets out the secret. Not only is it done kind of beautifully, because Athena is the actress who plays Athena is such a powerful actress during this scene, but it's the framing of where they're sitting at. You got Athena who's sitting on the edge of the stairs, right? And she's closer to the camera, where Dawn's in the back behind her. So it's like this perfect frame to tell the story, and I love it. But Athena eventually tells Dawn the truth about everything. She, explains that she knew Miss Mott, and she recognized Miss Mott from that photo when she first, went into Dawn's room a couple episodes back when the fan magically turned on and the picture was on the ground. And remember, she had that weird look on her face like, ooh, I recognize her, but we didn't know at the time. Now we know. She knew who Miss Mott was. And she explains that she had a brother named Edmund and that they were twins. And she had a tough time with Edmund. She really had a tough time with Edmund because anytime they were separated, Edmund would throw fits, hissy fits, just freak out. And they were extremely close. Like, they were inseparable as twins. And Athena tried to, kind of win their affection, buy their love, buy them toys. What kid doesn't love toys? And she knows that Edmund had that Raggedy Ann doll and tried to replace it with, a different doll. And Edmund was not having it. He threw a hissy fit. He tore up all the other dolls. But, she still loved him. Until one day she went to the park with Dawn and she came back. And that's when it happened. She came back and she found her husband dead from his heart attack on the floor with Edmund sitting right next to him holding his heart medication like a toy and is shaking it. Now what gets me about this is, again, I can relate to Athena about this whole situation. But I also kind of disagree with her at the same time. Let me explain. So she continues on to talk about how she knew it wasn't his fault and she couldn't blame him, but no matter how many times she looked at Edmund, that's all she felt was that anger, that rage, because she kind of blamed him. It wasn't his fault because he was a child. He was like 3 years old. Wasn't his fault, but she looked at it like it was his fault. Like, if he wasn't playing with his pills, maybe if he could have popped it open, maybe this, maybe that, one of those what if scenarios. It keeps playing over and over in her head, and she just keeps blaming Edmund. So, because she loved Dawn so much, but couldn't handle Edmund and the hatred she was feeling towards him, and the pain of being a single mom now, she gave him up. She gave him up, and it broke her to do that because she knew it was wrong to send them back because of how close their connection was. And of course, Dawn, feeling so upset, so detached from reality, would cry every night the moment he was gone. So eventually Athena convinced her he wasn't real. He was not real. He was a figment of her imagination. He was an imaginary friend. And once that happened, she adjusted, she was normal, and everything was happy. And Athena never thought to bring it up. Now, like I said, I get where she was coming from. Every time she looked at Edmund, she felt that intense anger, blaming him, even though she knew, and how we know, that it's not his fault. A child cannot open up these caps, and they're deliberately designed this way. Okay, childproof capping is a thing for a reason. Okay, you don't want the kids to open up the pill bottles and start going ham with your pills. So the fact that he couldn't get it open means the bottle was doing its job. But it sucks because he was having a heart attack and he himself didn't have the strength to push down and twist the top himself. So, I mean, what is poor little Edmund supposed to do? So, yeah, she knew it wasn't his fault, but it's that constant reminder every time she looked at Edmund. And I think we all can feel that to a degree. You know, there's always that, like, say there was a situation where you were constantly reminded about a terrible incident that happened in your life, but it had to do with a person. Like, say something happened terribly, and it had to do with, like, say your brother. Your brother witnessed something, and witnessed something happen to you, and yeah, you lived through it, you got past it, but unfortunately, because your brother was there, and he's always around you, it's like a constant reminder of what happened that night or that day or that time that is now triggering you to be either depressed, anxiety feel, angry, insert an emotion. It's there. So for her to not want to be around Edmund and give him up, I get it. Do I agree with it? No. But I get it because it's one of those situations, it's just so hard. And then the fact, on top of that, now she's a single mom, having to raise two of them. And one of them is, like, constantly on edge. Because we all saw Edmund was not easy to raise. Like, according to his second adoptive father, he threw a lot of tantrums and a lot of, kind of weird freakouts. Now, whether or not he would continue those weird freakouts is beknownst to us, because again, we don't get to see that timeline where she wound up taking care of both the twins. We only get to see the one where she took care of Dawn. And because of this, though, she pushed Edmund away. She pushed Edmund back, basically creating the own circumstances he was in. Accidentally. She kind of helped push him into whatever deal he made with this demon. And it's sad. It's sad because she didn't know. Okay, I'm going to put that out there. She didn't know that Mott was evil. She didn't know that Edmund was going to wind up the way he was. She didn't know. She just knew she loved Dawn and wanted to protect and take care of Dawn. And she just couldn't handle Edmund. No one can handle Edmund. And that's the sad factor about Edmund, is that if he had that support system, he probably could have been a normal human being and probably been extremely happy with life. But because, his biological mom gave him up, and then you got Athena who gave him up, and then you have his second father who gave him up, there's a lot of people turning their backs on Edmund. And then when we had the moment where he meets with Dawn, and she turns her back on him, he's got nothing. He has nothing. This is why he's jealous of Dawn's life. Dawn had everything. Dawn had a family. She had, a home, love, friends, a job, a real job. But he has nothing. And it's sad because, again, it's not like he necessarily put himself in this situation. Emotionally, it was not his fault because, again, he's dealt with abandonment issues. All right, he's been abandoned multiple times by multiple different people. People who are supposed to take care of him and love him and support him and rise him up. Abandoned, straight up abandoned, forgotten, because they can't handle him. They don't know what to do with him. They don't know how to deal with him. So instead of dealing with him, they just push him away. So I get where Edmund's coming from and being a very pissed off demon. But again, I get where Athena was coming from. Do I agree with what she did? No. I personally would have struggled to take care of them. But if it got to a point where I saw Edmund was acting a little too much out, such as, some of the stuff that was implied towards him and his adopted sister, maybe then I would have been like, all right, kid, you gotta go. But unfortunately, I'm not Athena. I was not there to raise and take care of Edmund. But she did what she had to do, what she thought was right. She feels guilty and remorseful about the situation because she just wanted happiness. She just wanted Dawn to be happy. She just wanted to be happy. And it's just sad. The whole situation is just sad overall because all this could have been avoided if people didn't push people away. If people would just, hey, I'm here for you. Let me have your back. I love you. You're my family. But unfortunately, Edmund gets the short end of that stick, and Dawn is winding up pushing her own family away out of her own emotions. People just need to sit down and talk. That's all this is. And you see it right here where Athena talked to Dawn. They kind of buried the hatchet a little bit. But it's so well done. Especially the way everything's set up. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful scene. A beautiful monologue. And I felt for Athena. I really did. I really felt for her. And I got where her emotions are coming from. But again, she should not have blamed Edmund for the death of her husband. Because again, childproof capping is a thing. Okay? It's an actual thing for a reason. Unfortunately, that poor little boy just got the short end of the stick. But yeah, after the confession and telling her that she basically made her forget her own brother, we then cut to Dawn, who basically gets a call from Diaz, or she's calling Diaz about her brother, and she wants to know, where can she find her brother. She needs to know this information about her brother. And that's when he informs us of another big plot twist that I didn't see coming. He's dead. Apparently, he himself 2 years prior. So probably shortly after the whole incident where we left him off at, we recorded the tape and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that following day he did it. But yeah, no, he's dead. He's dead. And we get this really nice camera shot, by the way. I had to point this out. I love this camera because of the metaphor behind it. But yeah, basically the camera pans over to the hallway and then turns upside down looking at Dawn's family. And I love that because the symbolism of her life is upside down. I really like that. I thought that was just a great little camera trick. So then Dawn goes check on Kale, who is asleep. She's closing the window and going to go walk out. And then she hears Kale sit up and just go, "Mom, can I ask you a question?" "Sure, son, sure. Oh, what's up? Did you enjoy fucking him?" "I'm sorry, what? Did you enjoy fucking Reggie, Mom? Did you? Like, he had to have a better dick than Daddy, didn't he? Because you were never home. You never came home." So again, that could imply, the reason why I say it could imply that she cheated on him is because of, was his dick better than Daddy's? As stupid as that line is, that's the only thing I could say that could imply that she might have cheated on Corey, which is why they we're in the process of getting the divorce. I don't know. Again, we don't get too much time with Corey. I like the scenes we do get with Corey. I wish we learned a little bit more about her relationships on the side when it came to Corey and Reggie. But I can kind of get why they pushed that love triangle or love whatever into the background, because it really is not important to the overarching story overall. Like, if you think about it, you could have her be divorced from Corey and never have him show up, or basically have him always be there. It wouldn't really change much of the story. But it is interesting to think about that she possibly could have cheated on Corey. This is why they argued and divorced, and this is why she was always home. It wasn't because she was a hard worker. It's because she was seeing Reggie. But again, we will never know because that's not basically fleshed out enough for us to really pinpoint any kind of accuracy. Damn it, I can't say the word right. But you get what I'm trying to say, though. There's no hard proof. There's maybe, some innuendos here and there, but there's no hard proof about this whole situation. But after that, we see Kel's missing. Dawn's standing there by herself, and then she hears Kel screaming from the closet, and he's been transported to the closet somehow. We don't know how. This demon's magical. That's all I'm going to say. And, of course, he's scared shitless. Dawn's scared shitless. I'm confused and scared shitless with her because this demon can pop in and out anytime he freaking feels like it. We then see Dawn holding Kel as he's sleeping. She's messing with his hair, you know, trying to calm him down. You know, typical mother thing, messing with the child's hair, you know, doing it. And as that's happening, Athena gets a phone call, and it's her old boss. And I say old boss with air quotes around it because it's rather obviously not her old boss. It's the demon on the phone, using like a mimicking voice feature or something. Point is, the voice tells her to come to the store because we need to talk. And if you don't come to the store, Dawn's in trouble. So Athena, wanting to protect Dawn, goes to the store. But before she goes downstairs and grabs the Raggedy Andy doll. So Athena heads to the store and she gets there. It's a dark and gloomy night. Very, very heavy rain. And as soon as she walks to the store, it's kind of dark. And then suddenly the lights turn on. It's all this blue, harsh, intense light. As she's just like, Edmund, leave my family alone. Please leave my family alone. And the shelf starts moving, kind of boxing her in. And oh my God, poor. Like, I give kudos to Athena during this whole scene because she put up the best fight she could. But how do you win against a demon in a hand-on-hand combat? I will never know because I've never personally fought a demon like that. If I ever do, I will let y'all know. Like, seriously. Granted, though, I would like to have that recorded, me just beating the shit out of a demon. That would be fucking hilarious. But as the shelves start moving and stuff, she turns around, she sees her husband crawling up to her, having his stroke, and he's like, my pills, open my pills. And she goes to open it, but again, she can't do it because the arthritis in her hands. Now, let me talk a little bit about her arthritis. Now, I'm curious to know, how long has this arthritis been persisting? Has it been since the whole Mott thing or a little bit before the Mott thing? Because if it was during the Mott incident, like right before, you know, maybe a day or two, it could be Edmund kind of messing with her, you know, kind of, all right, you blame me because I couldn't open these pills as a child. Let's see you do it with the same strength I had as a child. And that's basically what arthritis does. It weakens your hand strength and it, you know, kind of locks you in sometimes so you can't do things. And unfortunately, she can't get those pills open. She can't. So Athena's sitting there forced to watch her husband die again. As she's trying to get these pills, you hear Edmund basically tormenting her, going, how does that feel, mommy? He's dying. You need to open these pills. Open the pills. Help him. Help him. And unfortunately, she can't because of her arthritis. And like I said, I would like to know if the arthritis was before the incident or after the incident, because if it was like the day of the Mott or like 2 or 3 days before the Mott, I could blame Edmund. But if this is something that's been persisting for like a year or two, then maybe it's just karma coming to bite her in the ass about the whole situation. Either way, we don't have enough information to really pan out, but it's a good talking point and kind of theories you can muster around a little bit. You know, whether or not the arthritis is karma coming at her or if it's Edmund messing with her. One of the two. But after Edmund taunts her with those words, the lights flicker from that harsh deep blue to the harsh deep red tones. As soon as that happens, we see the man with the red hair, you know, Edmund, come around the corner, standing there menacingly. And Athena, she's ready to go. She's ready to go. He comes at her, right? He comes directly at her, grabs her, throws her up against the shelf, you know, is taunting her. And she does put up a good fight. She gets one good punch in, calls him a fucker. Unfortunately, she gets bitch slapped down to the ground real quick. Like I said, she did her best, man. She did her best. But she goes down, and as she's going down, she's trying to crawl away from Edmund as he's walking up to her. he bends down and asks her directly at this point. He's direct with her. Why did you send me back? Why? Why did you do this? Did you know she was abusive? Did you know about Mott? And before Athena could answer, he's gone. He's gone. She's left there standing alone by herself in the dark. She goes to stand up, and we get this nice little camera shot of as soon as she stands up, you know, we're looking at her back. We zoom out a little bit, and we see that paper guillotine thing I was talking about a couple episodes back. And the moment we see that, we see her turn around, and then Edmund come out of nowhere and push her. And then we have this quick cut of her scream, Edmund's face, and then we see her body walking and then slump over because she is decapitated. Her head is gone, no longer on her shoulders. And then right after that, Dawn then gets, you know, informed about her mom. So she goes to investigate. She gets to the crime scene. And the entire time, Kale's like, Mom, what's going on? Where's Grandma? What's happening? And she gets to the window, and she sees Athena's decapitated head just sitting there in the middle of the floor looking at her. And that's a lot for her to take in. She is shooketh. She is scared. She is, and her little heart can't take it anymore. She walks up to her son and then just collapses. She passes out. Boom. She's out. End of episode. Now, this episode was really emotional. I'm not going to lie. I love the direction of this episode. The aspect ratio of this one was very interesting. Again, I think it's the only episode like this with that kind of aspect ratio. But it's a gut-wrencher because you learn the full truth from Athena. You learn about why she did this, what's going on. You learn a little bit more about Edmund, about how he was basically emotionally pushed away. And like I said last time on the podcast, he was put in the cage of other people's designs because all he wanted was love and support and someone to care about him. And everybody he reached out pushed him away because they either didn't know how to deal with him, didn't want to deal with him, or didn't know who he was to deal with him. So he's been put in this cage, in this box of his own creation. Let me phrase that. Put in this cage that other people have created for him. And that's what put him on the edge here. That's what put him, I guess, in the path of this demon. Because that's all he wanted was just love. And poor Boo Boo couldn't get that. So let's move on to the last episode. And this episode is entitled The Box. Now, originally, I thought when they brought this title, I thought it was going to be based on the black box that Athena had, which it kind of is, but you could also look at it as another metaphor for the other box. And you don't know what we're talking about. We'll get there when we get there. We start with Edmund's tape to his sister. You know, the whole I see blood ever since I left your house thing. And as that's intermittently cut with Edmund balled up on the floor, holding the Raggedy Andy doll back to back with this Raggedy Andy demon. Now, I haven't quite described this demon, so let me do my best to describe it. It literally looks like a black Raggedy Andy. Like, as weird as that sounds, but hear me out. He has no nose, so his face has the appearance of the doll. And he's really dark and basically a really dark shade of black. Like, a really dark shade of black. And he's got this, like, vivid pop of red hair, yarn red hair. And again, he's got, like, his eyes got painted on eyelashes, you know, just like the doll. And his movements, you know, all stitched together like a doll. Again, he looks like a black Raggedy Andy doll. But he's standing there balled up with his demon. And as this is happening, we hear helicopters coming in. We hear the police banging on the door, you know, boom, 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 FBI, open up, and all that shit. Yeah, they found the shallow grave, which, again, like I said earlier, if you're going to kill somebody, go the full 110 miles, alright? Go the full 110, alright? Like, don't, if you're gonna bury somebody, don't use a shallow grave. Take the time. It's gonna take some time, trust me. But if you're gonna go with murder as your last resort, plan it out accordingly, people. Like, seriously. I'm not saying go commit murder, but I'm saying if you're stupid enough to go commit murder, be smart. Be smart. I know, I'm giving all weird mixed signals here. It's just like, wait a minute, she's telling us to commit murder, not commit murder? What's going on here? Now, don't go commit murder, because that's a crime that's frowned upon in every country in the world. But if you are a serial killer and you happen to be listening to this and you have killed like maybe 12, 15 people and you just happen to be listening to my podcast, remember, don't do shallow graves. Don't do shallow graves. Point is, cops are aware, Edmund's kind of cornered, and we hear the demons say, they found him. Give yourself to me, Edmund. I'll bring them all. I'll bring her to us. And of course, Edmund stands up facing the demon, and the demon mimics, across the throat. And so he himself, and yeah, that's how he died. Yeah, straight up, he just around his throat, just dead. Poor man, just even till the end, just could not catch a break. But as the police bust on in right after he dies, of course we see the demon standing there, kind of smirking, because he's so happy, because he got what he wanted, which was, I guess, Edmund's body, spirit, something, his hatred. Yeah, no, if you think about it, he was probably feasting on his depression, anxiety, and hatred for being isolated alone. Thus is why he needed that kind of energy to create, I guess, the form he's in. So in some aspect, he needed Edmund's body to do what he had to do. So after that, Dawn awakens at home, hearing basically the sounds of children's laughter at 3 a.m. And she goes to investigate because it's coming from Athena's room. And as soon as she opens up Athena's room, she hears, I couldn't save him. And you see Athena's body decapitated sitting on the bed. And of course it's a nightmare. And Dawn wakes up, freaks out because she can't find Kel. And so she takes all the covers off because he balled himself up underneath the covers. She's like, oh my God, Kel, it's going to be okay. I'm going to save you. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, yeah, damn straight you are. You are a strong, independent woman. You got this. So after that, we then cut to that morning, and Corey comes home. Because he said he was on his way last time they spoke on the phone. But Corey comes in and gives Donna a hug. He's like, I'm so sorry about your mother. And of course, Kel comes down, and it's like a beautiful group family hug moment. I kind of like it because it's very warm, especially with the lighting in the house. It's very warm and inviting, and I love it. But after that, Dawn is going through Athena's stuff. She finds the box, the little black box with all the information. And before she could dig too much into it, because she ends up pulling out 2 little notes. It says, one for my son, one for my daughter. Unfortunately, we don't get to see what's in those notes. Maybe in season 3, we might learn a little something. But at this current moment, we don't know what was in those notes. So after that, we then hear Detective Diaz show up, and of course he's there to give his condolences for Athena. I'm so sorry, Athena's dead kind of situation. But Dawn ends up asking him, hey, do you have the information I asked for you on your brother? He's like, not until tonight. But why don't we talk more about this case going on now? Because you on to something I need to know. I need to know what's going on. So they sit down and talk about the case, and this is when we start slowly piecing everything together, okay? We had the twins. We had the twins thing. So because they were twins, identical twins, that's why they were targeted. Why was Benny, the little boy, targeted? Because his brother was taken away from him and sent away, just like Edmund was to Dawn. Why was Mott picked out? Well, Mott's a horrible individual who abused both the kids. Why was the guy who was a shitty fucking father who was a cook, why was he targeted? good question. I don't think they ever dive much into that, but there's a theory that I've heard, and I kind of like this theory. He was chosen simply because he was just a horrible parent. That was simple as that. That was literally one of the theories I heard, and I can kind of agree with that. He was chosen because he's just a horrible parent. I mean, who the hell cooks drugs next to their baby's food? A horrible parent. I'm just saying. But yeah, we don't fully understand why he was picked, but that's the theory I'm going with, and I like that theory. Yeah, he's just a horrible individual and just needed to die just like Mott, because Mott's a horrible individual too. But while they're figuring all this out, she's like, so Edmund's been reaching out to me, trying to tell his story, our story, so we got to go back to where it all started. Let's go back to the house. And of course, Diaz like, maybe you shouldn't go back to the house. She's like, no, I'm going back to that house. She goes back to the house. And as she is pulling up to the driveway of Miss Mott's house, she goes inside to take a look around. We see McKinney out there with Diaz watching the house. And of course, McKinney is now trying to spin this that it's Dawn. Dawn's the serial killer, okay? Dawn's coming back to the scene of the crime. Dawn's got the connections. Dawn has reasonings. Dawn has motives. And Diaz is just like, what about the twin thing, though? And he's like, what twin thing? Because McKinney don't know about the twins. But as Dawn's going around this house and exploring, I thought this was really neat. Now, this got me. She starts going around the house, and of course, she's listening to the tape about when she first arrived back in the first episode, and she hears, we have the clock on the wall, the broken doors, the weird, strange markings on the on the closet door that smells like shit and broken toys. Well, she goes to the house. The clock's not there. The door's not broken. The closet doesn't smell like shit, and it's got carpeting. It turns out everything we saw from the first episode when she did her initial walkthrough through the house with the broken window, clock, etc., they were all memories that she was having the moment she walked to the house. This is the last thing she remembers about the house is all of these things. I thought that was very clever. I was like, that was an interesting little twist. Like little M. Night Shyamalan over here, just with a twist. I actually liked that. I thought it was great. But yeah, she just basically was remembering all the shit the last time she was at the house. So then we cut to Kel and Corey, who were talking about the incident, and he's trying to describe to his dad what he saw, and Kel's just like, you don't understand, okay? You just don't understand what's going on. And Corey's like, no, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, son. Like, is everything gonna be okay? Like I'm doing my best over here. Like, I really give Corey credit. He is doing his best, being kind of thrown into the situation, being kind of oblivious about what's going on. But, I mean, what Kel is describing is kind of impossible. A mysterious man with a red hair just showing up out of nowhere and taunting him and then disappearing. Yeah, that'd be hard to believe. But Corey kind of says something's up because he goes to hug Kel and tell him it's going to be okay. And in the reflection of the, glass... curio cabinet or something. I don't know. It's got glass on it. The point is, he looks in the reflection of the glass and he sees Edmund, with the red yarn hair and everything, not Kel. And it freaks him out for a second. He's just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's my boy. That's my boy. And he keeps looking at the reflection like, I don't know what that was, but that's not okay. That is not okay. So then Dawn shows up at Diaz's place because he's got the files now from Edmund. And of course, Diaz is just like, why are you going through this? They're all audition tapes. I don't get what you're trying to do. I'm trying to build a profile here, Diaz. Okay, just let me do this. And she pulls out one single tape. And she walks over to the VHS, she puts it in, and it's the tape. The infamous, ever since I left your house, all I see is blood tape. And as she's standing there with Diaz watching this tape, he proceeds to continue on about, do you remember the box? Do you remember what Mott did to us? Do you remember? Why am I the only one who has to remember? You have your house, your job, your life. Ever since I left your house, all I see is blood. we get to finally see the full monologue he was trying to record for her. But in the midst of this monologue, after he says the rest of the, you cannot, have you ever felt like you couldn't breathe, you couldn't get enough air in your lungs speech, he dips out from the side of the camera, comes back dressed as the Raggedy Andy character we've been seeing this entire time, and Diaz sees this and he's just like, the man with the red hair, like he knows what's going on now. He's putting two to two together. He's like, there's definitely something supernatural going on here, but I can't say this shit, but I'm with Dawn now. Like, he's 100% on Dawn's side. The moment he said the man with the red hair, I knew he was on Dawn's side, and there was nothing that was going to convince me otherwise. And I was right too. I was right. But the moment they see this, Dawn's just like, I gotta get back to my house. I gotta go. And she goes around the corner, and there's McKinney standing there with a gun. And of course, Diaz is like, McKinney, let her go. You don't have enough evidence. And he's like, shut up, Diaz. I'm gonna do this. And of course, she's like, no, McKinney, you're not gonna do this. And she goes to put her hand behind her back. And he's like, don't you dare. Just keep your hands up and get on the ground. So she goes to get on the ground, and he's just like, you see, this is the problem. Giving you motherfuckers a badge, and y'all take that as just a little bit of power, and y'all just run with it. Like, he is harping on her, tormenting her, basically being a racist piece of shit. And she's like, you're not going to shoot me. Oh, you don't think I'm going to shoot you? No, you saw what I did to Lamar's walk-ins. Do you think I'm not going to do it again? Now get on the ground. And he gets on top of her, and he's being now really manhandlish with her. He's being rough with her, and he's like, stop resisting, kind of fucking with her. And Diaz, he can't take this shit anymore, so he pulls out his gun, and he's just like, let it go, man. Get off of her. And McKinney's just like, nah, Diaz, you ain't doing this, man. You ain't really doing this. And of course, Don's like, Diaz, don't do this. Put your gun down. And he listens for a second. And he puts his gun down, which gave McKinney just enough of an opening to shoot poor Diaz in the shoulder. And Diaz, of course, collapses to the ground. McKinney gets up, calls him a bunch of names, calls him stupid. And then that bought Dawn enough time to reach for her little extra side piece she had on her ankle. And as soon as she pulls out her gun, McKinney charges at her. They start wrestling over the gun a little back and forth until eventually the most beautiful thing in this entire planet happens. McKinney dies. Oh, man, I cheered. I clapped. I had to pause and stand up, give Dawn a standing ovation because I hated McKinney. I hated him with a roaring fucking passion. That man deserved nothing more than to die. And I got that. I was so happy. And then I got even more happy when Dawn stood up and went, Diaz, are you all right? Yeah, no, he just grazed me in the shoulder. I'm okay, though. Yes, McKinney's dead. Diaz is alive. This is the most beautiful episode I've ever seen. But Dawn takes this in for a moment and goes, all right, I'm going to call him for backup. You wait here. I got to get back to my house. So she runs back to her house, all the way back at home. Like Dorothy runs to the Wizard of Oz over here. And as that's happening, we cut to Kelly and Corey at home. Now, I love this scene because Corey's my man right here. Corey's my fucking man. He's my spirit animal. Corey, he's washing dishes, right? They listen to the little record. They hear the record stop, and then they hear footsteps upstairs. Corey looks up, looks at Kel. He grabs a knife. I'm like, that is the smartest man I've ever seen in a horror movie. He's just like, there's some shit in my house. I'm going to go investigate that shit. Brought the knife in and everything. At least he didn't go up there disarmed. I always hated that. Especially in a horror movie, when you're alone and yet you hear something upstairs. Granted, my first conclusion is not ghosts or demons. My first assumption is someone broke into my house. So, of course, I'm going to go up there with a weapon. That is why I say Corey's my spirit animal. But Corey goes to investigate, and as he's going up the stairs, the Raggedy Andy song starts freaking playing. That song's going to taunt me for the rest of the day. But as he gets upstairs, he sees the hallway covered in red yarn, and he's just flabbergasted by this whole situation. And then suddenly 2 things of string yarn come around his leg and yeet his ass down the hallway. And then we cut to Kel, who's standing there like, Dad, is everything okay? Daddy? And he gets up and goes to investigate. And as he gets around the corners of the stairs, we see poor Corey get slung across the railing, crashing down, breaking the stairs and everything. He's okay, though. He's okay. Like, dead ass. He's okay. And, of course, before Kel could do anything, there's Edmund standing there in the demon form, just like, are you scared? And poor Kel, he screams. Dawn comes in, sees Kel's missing, sees Corey on the ground. She's like, Corey, where's Kel? And Corey's like, yeah. Corey's trying, man. He got thrown across some stairs, okay? Like, give him a minute, okay? But we hear something coming in from the TV, and we see flashes of imagery, Maud's house. We see Edmund. We see Kel in trouble. And, of course, he tells her, come back home, sister, come back home. So she runs straight back to Maud's house. And as she gets to Maud's house, that is when she has a moment of reliving her past life. Because the moment she gets into this house, the door is closed on her. She can't get out. She can hear Kel screaming, but she can't find Kel. So, I guess this is Edmund taunting and fucking with her, saying, hey, do you remember this? Do you remember now? Huh? But you see, as children, they were running around and goofing off, and Miss Maud was just a terrible individual. She's like, what did I tell you kids about being in my room? And, of course, they're running, they're hiding from her. She's breaking clocks. She's smashing the doors. She's a mean old bitch, that's all I'm saying. And as this is happening, little Edmund is taking Dawn all the way around the house, and they hide underneath the sink. And that's when he tells her, I'll protect you. It's okay as long as we're safe underneath here. And Dawn realizes this is why you stuck her in here, because this is where we used to hide. And before she can even put 2 and 2 together, she gets dragged out of the sink. She goes crawling. Of course, the demon's on top of her, scaring the shit out of her. And she wakes up on the carpet and sees 2 people, which is Miss Mott and a very familiar character standing there holding twins. Now, I'm going to be honest. I love this moment. This was the twist of all twists that I did not see coming at all. I'm being dead serious. I didn't see it coming. Because, again, they said this is an anthology series. So I thought it had no connection to the first season. Oh, no contraire, my friend. It is very much connected to the first season. Because you find out that mysterious stranger that looks oddly familiar is Ruby from the first season. Mic drop, all that shit. Now, I'm going to be honest. The first time I was watching this, I was looking at her like, why does she look familiar? Because you got to remember, I haven't watched the first season until this year. Okay, let me phrase that. I watched it when it originally came out a couple of years ago. But I haven't watched it since. It was just a one-time viewing. So there's a lot of things I kind of forgot about the show. And the resemblance of the children was one of them. I remember there was Gracie, I remember Ruby, I remember Lucky, and I remember her husband. But I didn't remember their faces. So when she shows up, I'm looking at her like, she looks familiar. Why does she look familiar? And then she starts speaking. I'm sorry, I can't take care of you. I can't. Now, since your daddy took off, I'm not right. What I went through as a kid, it just never left me. And then we get the little flashback. And that is when it dawned on me, this is motherfucking Ruby. This is Ruby from season 1. What the hell? Because this adds a new layer to this whole overarching story about generational trauma. Generational trauma has just been passed on from Ruby to Dawn and Edmund. In more ways than one. Let me continue on, then I'll explain the rest. After we get a little flashback, we continue on here, Ruby saying, I can't let what happened to me happen to you. What my mom went through, what we all went through, it ends here. And she gives them over to Miss Mott. She gives them the little Raggedy Andy and the Raggedy Annabelle doll. And she tells them she loves them. And as quickly as she came, as quickly as she went, she quickly runs out the house. Because she can't. Now, what I mean by generational trauma is what she said. What happened to me, what happened to my mom, what we went through, it ends here. It did not end here. It did not. Her abandoning her children because she couldn't deal with the children because, daddy left. We don't know who the dad is, by the way. We have no clue who the dad is. I know this has got to be a couple of years after the incidents of the first season. And when I mean a couple of years, I mean maybe about 5 years. I want to say the first season took place in 53, 58? Oh, God, I cannot remember. I remember it was somewhere in the 50s. And they made a mention in this season that she was put into Miss Mott around 63. I want to say, I could be misheard it or something, but I could have sworn somebody said something about she was in the care back in 63, maybe. I could be off by a couple of years. I do not know. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just trying to remember when certain things take place. But the point is, it's been a few years after the incidents, which means what happened to them in the first season really fucked with Ruby. And she carried that, and she felt like she couldn't be a good parent with this thing looming over her, this whole trauma looming over her. And it gets me thinking about some other things, but we'll get there when we get to the ending, like the very ending of the show. But she tried so hard not to repeat the same mistakes that her parents did and try to give her kids a better life, and she did the complete opposite to a degree. Yeah, Dawn had a good life. Dawn had a perfectly decent life. What about Edmund, though? He kind of got the short end of the stick. He carried on the trauma. And I'm pretty sure whatever was following Ruby wound up following them. And then just latched itself to Edmund. I mean, I really don't know. It's sad. It's sad that she doubted herself as a mom because of how Lucky reacted towards everything. She didn't want to be like her mom. She even said in the first season, I don't want to be like mom. Say it. Let's not be like mom. Let's not be like mom. And, I mean, she's not going to wind up like Lucky. That much I can say. But unfortunately, what she did royally ended up backfiring and just making Edmund's life worse. And unfortunately, Edmund got the short end of the stick. And again, this is why I say he was put in a cage that somebody else designed for him. The moment he was born, his destiny was already written, it felt like. Because he got the short end of the stick on everything. Mom abandoned them, left them with Miss Mott, so they get adopted. After being tormented and tortured by Miss Mott, they get adopted just for him to be unadopted and put back, then to be tormented some more, then to be adopted and then treated like an ostracized creature outside of his own adopted family, just to be sent back when he's 12, just to be tormented some more, probably by Miss Mott. Like, he had nobody. He had nothing. He had no love, no support. Nobody cared for him. And that's sad because everyone deserves somebody. Everybody deserves somebody to love them. Whether it's a friendship, family, friends, relationship, everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves support. And Edmund didn't get that. And that kind of does break my heart a little bit because, again, I'm pretty sure if Edmund had a decent foundation that wasn't crumbling and becoming rotten, I'm sure he would have been a decent human being, a happy human being. maybe when we wouldn't have to be dealing with this generational trauma and all this bullshit and death. But here we are. Here we are. So unfortunately, Dawn tries to stop the flashback from happening and chases after her, but the moment she steps to the door, the lights turn off, and she finds herself in a box, and she can't breathe, and she is struggling, she's screaming for help, and you hear little Edmund, go, "It's okay, she's gone now," and you see a little straw get pushed down so she can breathe a little bit. You can hear Edmund, in the back, "You stay away from her, don't hurt her." And of course, Mom's like, "Stay away from her, you don't help her at all, she's a bad girl," all this shit. And then she comes out of the box, like a little like fade from one room to another, and she wakes up in the hallway again, standing there in front of Edmund as the Raggedy Ann demon. As she sees him standing there, she goes, "Where is my son? I will destroy you." She goes to lunge at Edmund, and Edmund just reaches his hand out and stops her, just mid-stop, kind of almost crushing her ribs to a degree, because she can't breathe. She, does that, and he slowly, basically kind of pulls a demon possession move on her and starts making her levitate slightly above the floor as he's holding her there. And he's just saying, "You're going to join me. Don't fight it. It's our fate. I was weak and gave myself over, so can you. We can be together again, like a family." And she's like, "Well, what about my son?" "Forget your son. Forget your son like you've forgotten me." And as he's talking to her, she sees her version of herself as the Raggedy Ann, technically Raggedy Annabelle demon, just standing there, her with red hair. Who would have thought? Think about it. Now, if she did turn over, what kind of demon pair would they be? Like, straight up. But the point is, she's seeing herself as the Raggedy Ann, Annabelle, I should say, creature standing there. But she snaps kind of forward a little bit, because again, she's slightly floating above the floor a little bit. He's kind of crushing her, getting ready, I guess, to break all her bones in her body. But she's standing there, or floating there, and it's just like, it wasn't my fault, Edmund. They made me forget you. It wasn't my fault. I loved you. You protected me. And the moment she says, "I love you," it takes him a second, but it comes to him, because that's all he wanted to hear from somebody was, "I love you." Your move, sorry, I took. sorry, I'm sorry. That moment from Ted's TV show came into my head. Jesus came down to spread the word of his love to the followers and of his people. "I love you." Your move, Friar Tuck. I love that show. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. My brain just automatically went there. But after she says, "I love you," he kind of comes back. That's all he wanted. That's all he basically wanted, was somebody to reach out and be honest with him and be there for him and to say, "I love you, brother." And because of that, he then kind of reverts back to himself slowly, but we see him come from this demon form, which is the scary, big, tall, muscular, freaky looking demon. And as his bones are breaking and he's basically becoming a ragdoll himself, we see him morph to Edmund instead of the creepy demon. And as that's happening, she's looking at him. She's like, "I'm sorry I forgot you, but because you were my imaginary friend, but you weren't my imaginary friend. You were my best friend. You were my brother. And what you have become is not you." And as soon as she says that, he changes completely, collapses to the floor in pain and agony. And he basically is like deflated, as stupid as that sounds. He's literally deflated on the ground, barely breathing, sitting there. And Dawn looks over to him, and he just goes, "I love you." He takes a couple of breaths, and he just dies. Dawn sits there, has a moment with him. She takes his glasses off, closes his eyes, and just kind of touches his face. You know, give him that human interaction, that human touch he's been longing for. That emotional connection he's been longing for. Unfortunately, he got it the day he died. Like, officially died. Like, not when he himself, but when he actually died. But after that, you know, Dawn comes back and she hears Kel. She goes to Kel, finds him in the closet where she was originally kept at. Ironic. And of course, you know, he hugs her. She hugs him back. And he's just like, "Mommy, is it over? Is it all over?" Yes, Kel, it's over. It's finally all over. Which is true. He's defeated. Her love, as stupid as that sounds, her love destroyed him. But that's all he wanted. Like, I usually don't like those stupid fucking premises where it's just like, the love, saying I love you is what defeated him. It worked in this case because that's literally all he wanted, was somebody to love him. So yeah, no, it's that simple. It's that stupid, but that simple, and I love it though. I love it. It works here. It works here, and I just love it. But after that, we then cut to Dawn, who's at work at the little mock trial area again. She's standing in front of all those wrinkly old ass motherfuckers and her boss from the Jurassic Park world. And she's recording. She is playing the recording. Now, remember when I said she reached in her bag and then McKinney told her not to? The entire time I was watching that scene, I said, wouldn't it have been funny if she was turning on her recorder because she happened to be carrying that bitch everywhere she went? And unfortunately, we never got to see that until this moment. She did turn it on. She was recording the whole conversation between her and McKinney, where McKinney basically says some racial shit, then straight up confessed to doing that to the Lamar Watkins dude, and then threatened to basically kill her. So yeah, now there's a lot of damning evidence against McKinney, and they wind up basically dropping all the charges, going, we're not gonna press any charges against you for McKinney because Diaz said it was in self-defense, and with the boys' case, we're dropping that too. And as she, you know, because she smiles, she's smug about it, she deserves it. She gets up, she goes to walk away, and as she goes to walk away, the dude from Jurassic Park looks at her and just goes, "Hey, Reeves. I saw that your profile that you were looking for matches the description of McKinney." Yeah? Well, all I can say is the killing should stop now. Wait, Reeves. But before you leave, listen, I can't offer you your actual job back, especially after everything that's happened, but maybe in a couple of months I could get you a desk job, you know? You still keep your pension and everything. You know, how would you like that? Would that be okay? She looks at him. We get this nice little zone in. And then it's cut in perfectly with the song, "Fuck the Police." I fucking love that. That killed me. As soon as turned around, I knew she was going to say, "Fuck the police" or "fuck you." Now, I was not expecting the song, you know, "Fuck the police, we come straight from the underground." Like, I love that song. It's a great song. Absolutely a banger. But after that, she walks out, drops the mic. We're all feeling good about life. We cut to 6 months later. Kel walking down the stairs. They got the staircase fixed from when Corey got thrown across it. Thank God for that. Kel comes into the kitchen. They're getting ready for dinner. They're setting plates for 3, you know, because Corey's coming by. So we got this happy little family. You know, Corey's here. Maybe they're rekindling their relationship with Dawn. And it's all going great and dandy. I just love it. And I just keep looking at the time like, there's still like 5 minutes left of this show. What's going on here? Like, this is too much. This is too much happiness here. So then Dawn goes up the stairs. She sits down. She opens up the little box again. She starts going through it. She looks at the picture of her and Edmund together. And as she's looking at it, she starts peeling back a picture behind it that's stuck. And as she pulls it back, she sees it's the Emery family for the first season. Ruby, her mom, her sister, her father. And she looks at Lucky and realizes she looks an awful lot like Lucky, like her grandmother. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because they're using the same actress here, but, you know, let's not mince meats here. The point is, she's looking at it, And she's like in awe because she's like, I kind of look like this woman. Now, here's where my jaw hit the fucking floor. I'm not even kidding you. I was sitting there just like, no, no, no. Like, even I was feeling this terrifying moment from Dawn. So she's looking at the picture, right? We then cut to somebody, first person's perspective, coming in through the door and closing it. And then we see some shoes go up the stairs. And then we hear some humming. Some humming that sounds familiar. Just... The entire time I'm sitting there like, why does this seem familiar? What is going on here? And of course we see somebody eating something. We see a shadow of somebody eating something. And then we see him walking down the hallway. And this was the moment I knew who the hell it was, because his hand went down on his side, and I saw the missing fingers, and I was like, no, 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 they did not. And in the moment, my mind is trying to comprehend the fact that they brought this motherfucker back. You see him standing there in the doorway looking at Dawn as Dawn is looking at him, petrified like a son of a bitch. She is scared, and he starts singing and dancing. It's the fucking tap dancing man, everybody. He's made a fucking grand appearance out of nowhere. I lost my shit because I was like, he can't be bad. He was killed. He was killed. What the hell? What the fuck? And, of course, he's all dancing, what you gonna do? Boom, boom. What you gonna do? And Dawn, of course, it ends with Dawn just looking terrified. And then we just see the smiling face of the tap dancing man as the show ends. I was left with my jaw on the floor by the time we got to that last section. Like, I knew too much happiness was happening there. I knew it. But that episode was definitely a good send-off and a great build-up to everything that was coming before it. I know a lot of people probably were more upset that she didn't spend more time fighting the demon and all it took was, I love you, brother. But it makes sense because that's literally all he wanted. That's all he wanted. He didn't want any more complicated emotions here. He just wanted to be with his sister. He just wanted someone to say, I love you. And that was easy as that. Now, back to the generational trauma thing. This is why I say Ruby also failed, because I'm willing to bet you. I'm willing to bet you. This tap dancing man has some kind of connection to this demon. Now, what the connection is, I don't know. Because again, speculations, rumor, take everything I say with a grain of salt from this point. What if the demon is the tap dancing man, but taking on the disguise as this Raggedy Andy doll, since Raggedy Andy is Edmund's favorite toy that he cherishes and wants to protect the most? Now, how did this happen? Well, remember when Ruby gave him up and gave him the dolls? What if whatever was following her from the house, which, again, I don't know how this is even possible, because of the fact that they killed him. They killed him at the ending of the last season. They straight up shot him in the head. Granted, I get it. He's a ghost, a demon, something of supernatural entities here. But the point is, he was gone. They defeated their demons. So why is he still following? Because of the freaking contract, that curse that's on the land that they lived on. It's followed them. It attached to them. And because they defeated it, it needed to go somewhere else. So it went with the children. Which could explain why Mott all of a sudden went from a very, oh my god, look at these cute little babies. I bet she's so cute. All that shit. And then went to, I'm gonna kill these kids and breaking doors and shit. Could be the demon influencing her. Maybe. Could be the demon influencing the situation to fuck with the family. Even still. Generational trauma being passed down from one generation to the next. whatever happened to them at that house has now officially passed on to them. And now they gotta deal with it. But I'm still trying to figure out what the tap dancing man it is, because again, I thought he was connected to the contract, and I would assume that because of the, you know, them defeating their demons and probably leaving the household, I wouldn't want to live there anymore. You would think, you know, he would stick somewhere else, but what are the odds? The tap dancing man, you know, the symbol that basically left Henry traumatized and was fucking with him about all this stupid racial shit white people were doing. Why is it here with Dawn? Why is it here now, after 6 months, after all this happiness? Is it because it's a constant reminder that even when things are good, things are not so good? Like, what is the point here? I mean, I got more questions than I ever desired to have about this show, but it makes me long for season 3. I'm not gonna lie. I want to know. I get it's supposed to be an anthology series, but how you gonna do this, man? You can't just leave me off on a cliffhanger like this. Like, you brought Homie back from the dead. You can't just, all right, we're going to move on to the next family. No, I want to see what happens to this family. I bet you, watch them pull a big old switcheroo trick, and they show us what happened to Ruby before she got pregnant with the kids. Oh, that'd be some fuck shit right there. And just instead of continuing on, just do the shit the Insidious franchise did. You got Insidious 1, 2. Oh, now here's the prequel. And 5 years will come back to the season finale of 2. Oh, God, I really hope they don't do that, though. Because I got to know, man. I got to know. I got so many questions, concerns, comments. But overall, the way the show ended, I thought it was beautiful. It was built up very well. And overall, it was very spooky, very scary. It still had a message and an agenda behind it, but it wasn't as harsh as it was in the first season, and it took more of a backseat, because again, with the Rodney King thing, yeah, in the first few episodes, like first 4 episodes, it's there. Like, you are always seeing the TV scene on the news and all that. But the moment Dawn gets convicted or gets in trouble for the whole death of the kid thing, suddenly that's all forgotten about, and now we're looking at this. So, you know, it's there, but it's not like in our faces. It's not shoving it down our throats. And they're not bashing everybody to the point that where they're like, this is clearly the one bad side. This is clearly the one good side. Like, it's literally a black and white situation we're looking at. And I like the direction that they took when it came to this season because of that. You know, it's not, you know, all white people are racist kind of things. It's one of those, everybody fucking sucks and everybody's just dealing with this situation. But then we have the whole generational trauma thing coming in right behind us, because generational trauma's got to generate hard. But I like this. Out of the 2 seasons so far, this one definitely one of my favorites. I love the supernatural elements to it. I love the scare himself. Even though I kept calling him the man with the red hair or Edmund, it's still called the scare. He was a very fun, terrifying creature that left me just wanting to know so much more about, just about how it became, where he came from. I would just love to know more information about that, but, you know, maybe season 3 might explain something, maybe not. Who the hell knows? But yeah, overall, I give this show a solid 8. I give it an 8. And again, there's some weaker aspects about the show. I will say, even though I did like the ending with the, you know, I love you being the last thing, I really wish there was a bit more of maybe an attempted fight between them, like there was with him and Athena. Maybe, you know, she tries to fight him, you know, punch the shit out of him or something, and he winds up beating her ass. You know, that could have been interesting. I don't know. I just feel like there should have been a little bit more to the finale than just I love you. But I still like the way it did wind up doing it, because it did make sense. Because, again, that's all he wanted. The whole Reggie thing, I didn't really care much for. They could have really done a little bit better job with Corey. Maybe fleshing him out a little bit more. But, yeah, I kind of get why they didn't focus on a lot of that shit. Because that shit's not important to the overarching story of what's going on. But, you know, it would have been a little nice to feel some more of those emotional impacts we're supposed to feel when these characters leave or come back and shit like that. But yeah, overall, not a bad show. It is one of my favorite Amazon original shows that I just enjoy. I see myself watching season 2 a lot more than season 1. But yeah, no, this has been a real treat. I'm glad I was able to sit down and talk to you guys about this. But why don't we go ahead and end this podcast here? Because there's not much more I can say about this fantastic and wonderful show. I think I broke it down as best as I could. So why don't we go ahead and end this here. I hope everybody who has watched, is watching, will watch. I hope you enjoy. I hope everybody has a fantastic and a wonderful night. And guys, don't forget, if you're watching this here on YouTube and you love my podcast or any of the other fantastic things I do here on the channel, such as my TCM videos, my Disney Dreamlight Lives, my DVD, other little horror games, so on and so forth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit that notification bell, because you never know what's going to happen here. Trust me, I never know. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, do whatever you got to do to keep on following, keep on listening. The fantastic screamers out there, because we got plenty of coming up in the next couple of months. I feel like I need to take a bit of a rest back from the TV shows, because we did hit season 1 and season 2 pretty hard. So if I'm going to do a TV show next, it will probably be a ranking system, because there is a show I do want to talk about called Slashers that I absolutely enjoy. But it's mainly because of the aspect of the premise of the anthology series. But yeah, I could do a ranking system on that. There are some ideas about talking about the Anvil Horror House, because I would love to deep dive into that. Could do a fun little game ranking of, you know, what asymmetrical horror game would be what character would be great in asymmetrical horror games. You know, shit like that. We got ideas, we got listings and stuff. So I'm just got to pull through my bag and see what's going on. But I might take a bit of a rest from the podcast for at least I'm not gonna say next couple of weeks, but at least the next week or two. You know, give my voice a little time to chill out a little bit, because I've been talking a lot about these two shows. But like I said, that is a story for another day. So until then, my friends, y'all take care, and I'll catch y'all for episode 55 next time around.